The darkness of the room surrounds you, a supposed sanctuary from the busy world. And yet, your mind is anything but dark. It is brilliantly, painfully illuminated by 1,000 racing thoughts. The phone screen, which you put down just moments ago, has left a ghost image behind your eyelids, a final portal to a world that refuses to let you go. The noises of the completed day, the unanswered emails, the conversations left hanging, the deep, quiet anxieties about tomorrow, all echo in the profound silence of your bedroom. They are louder now than they ever were during the day. This state of being, this restless mind in a tired body, is not a personal failure. You are not broken. This is a condition of our times, a shared affliction of the modern age. We live in a world that worships activity, a world where stillness is often mistaken for idleness, and a quiet mind is a forgotten luxury. Our consciousness, like a computer that is never allowed to shut down, perpetually processes, analyzes, and worries, leading to a state of deep spiritual and mental exhaustion. Sleep, which should be our nightly refuge, our sacred space for healing and renewal, instead becomes another battlefield. It is a place where we wrestle with our own minds, hoping for a peace that feels impossibly out of reach. But what if there was another way? What if the moments just before sleep were not a struggle, but an opportunity? An opportunity not just for biological rest, but for a conscious act of purification, a gentle cleansing of the soul. This is an invitation to explore that possibility through the timeless wisdom of Buddhist practice. Not as a complex religion demanding conversion, but as a practical set of tools, a gentle guidance for tidying the inner home of your mind before you rest. The path forward is not about forcing your thoughts to stop and act as futile as trying to command the ocean to be still. It is, instead, about learning to change your relationship with them, to see them, to understand them, and to allow them to pass, leaving behind a vast, quiet, and peaceful space, ready for the deep nourishment of sleep. As you lie here, the first step on this journey inward is not to fight, but to simply notice. Notice the endless stream of activity within your own mind. We have been taught, in subtle ways, to believe that a good, peaceful mind is an empty mind, a silent space devoid of all thought. This is the first illusion we must gently let go of. To demand that your mind be silent is like demanding that your heart stop beating or your lungs stop breathing. The nature of the mind is to think, just as the nature of a river is to flow. Thoughts will arise, unbidden, constantly. They are the natural energy of your consciousness, bubbling up from the depths of your experiences, your memories, your hopes, and your fears. For years, perhaps your entire life, you have been in a battle with this river. You have tried to build dams to stop it. You have tried to divert its course. You have jumped into its powerful current and struggled against it, only to find yourself exhausted and carried away. Tonight, we will not fight the river. We will simply learn to sit by its banks. In the traditions of Zen, this ceaseless mental chatter is often given a name, a friendly and accurate one: the monkey mind. Picture it, a restless little monkey, your own consciousness, swinging frantically from one branch to another in the great jungle of your mind. It grabs onto a branch of yesterday's regrets, replaying a conversation, wishing you had said something different. Then, before you can even take a breath, it swings to a high branch of tomorrow's anxieties, imagining a difficult meeting, a potential problem, a future that has not yet happened. It chatters incessantly, pointing out your flaws, reminding you of your to-do list, distracting you with fleeting desires and sudden, baseless fears. This monkey is not your enemy. It is simply untrained. It has been allowed to run wild for so long, fed by a culture of constant stimulation, a world of notifications, headlines, and endless information. It knows no other way to be. Your task is not to punish the monkey or to chain it down. Your task is to befriend it, to gently train it, to give it something calm and steady to hold on to, so that it may eventually find its own rest. But first, before we can train it, we must simply watch it. We must understand its habits without judgment. So let us begin this practice of observation. Right now, as you lie here, imagine that you are no longer in your bed, but are seated comfortably on the soft, mossy bank of a great, flowing river. The air is calm, and the only sound is the gentle, persistent murmur of the water as it makes its way to the sea. This river is your own mind, the stream of your consciousness, and every single thought, every feeling, every memory that arises within you is simply an object floating on the surface of this water. Look, a thought about work, a deadline, an email appears in your mind. See it as a simple brown leaf, caught in the current, drifting by. Do not reach for it. Do not analyze its shape or its texture. Simply label it, gently, work, and then watch it as it floats past you and continues on its journey down the river, eventually disappearing from sight. Another thought appears, a worry about a family member. Perhaps this one feels heavier. See it as a smooth, grey stone rolling along the riverbed. Notice its presence, notice its weight, label it, worry, and then let the river carry it. You do not have to pick it up. You do not have to carry its weight. Your only task is to remain on the bank and watch. A happy memory might surface, a moment of joy from years ago. See it as a brightly colored flower petal, spinning and dancing on the water's surface. Enjoy its beauty as it passes, a happy memory. And then let it go. Let it continue its journey. An anxious thought about your health. See it as a piece of tangled driftwood, jagged and complex. Acknowledge it, anxiety, and let it float on. The key to this practice is a gentle, radical non-engagement. Your thoughts will try to lure you into the water. The leaf of a work thought will call out, "You must figure me out right now." The stone of worry will insist, "If you do not pick me up and carry me, something terrible will happen." This is the habit of a lifetime. Your mind believes that it must engage with every single thought. Your practice tonight is to gently defy this habit. You remain on the bank. You are the silent, compassionate witness to the river's flow. When you notice that you have, inevitably, jumped into the river, that you have been carried downstream, lost in a chain of thought for a few moments, or even many minutes, there is only one thing to do. Without any judgment, without any frustration, you gently, kindly, guide yourself back to your seat on the riverbank. Every time you do this, you are strengthening a muscle of awareness. You are training the monkey mind, not with force, but with gentle repetition. There is a beautiful story that illustrates this principle. A student came to a great Zen master, deeply troubled. He said, "Master, I cannot meditate. When I try to be quiet, I am plagued by distracting thoughts, by anger, by fear. They are like intruders in my mind, and I cannot get them to leave." The master listened with deep compassion. He did not offer a complex technique or a harsh solution. He simply said, "When these thoughts come, you must treat them like honored guests. When a thought of anger arrives at the door of your mind, do not slam the door in its face. Instead, open the door wide, bow politely, and say, "Ah, anger, I see you are here. Please, come in, have a cup of tea." The student was confused, but he trusted the master. The master continued, "Invite the anger to sit with you. Pour it a cup of tea. Do not argue with it. Do not try to make it leave. Simply be a gracious host. Give it your full, quiet attention." What you will find is that no guest, not even anger or fear, wants to stay where it is simply observed. After it has had its tea, it will see itself to the door. You can then bow politely and say, "Thank you for visiting." This is the practice of sitting by the river. Each thought is a guest. You acknowledge it, you are polite to it, but you do not serve it a feast. You do not invite it to stay the night. You simply allow it to be there, and in that non-resistant acceptance, it loses its power over you. It is the struggle, the resistance, that gives a thought its strength. When you fight it, you are feeding it your own energy. When you observe it, you reclaim that energy. This leads us to the most profound realization of this practice. You are not your thoughts. This is a truth of immense freedom. You are not the anger. You are not the anxiety. You are not the fleeting memory. You are not the busy planner. You are the one who is aware of all these things. You are the riverbank, solid, stable, and enduring, while the river of thoughts flows by. You are the vast open sky, and the thoughts are merely clouds that drift through, temporarily obscuring the blue, but never, ever staining it. To realize this is to find an anchor of peace in the midst of any mental storm. The thoughts can rage, the river can be turbulent, but you, the awareness, remain on the bank, safe, whole, and at peace. So continue this now. Stay on the bank. Watch the endless procession of leaves and stones and petals. Notice them, name them, and let them go. In doing this, you are not creating emptiness. You are discovering the peace that was already there, hidden beneath the noise. Having learned to simply watch this river, we can now discover a gentle anchor, a tool to help us stay on the bank even more steadily, a tool that has been with us all along. This anchor is your own breath. Having sat for a while on the bank of the great river of your thoughts, you have accomplished the first, most difficult step, the step of honest observation. You have seen the ceaseless flow, and you have made a quiet, courageous choice not to be swept away by it. But the current is strong, and the habit of a lifetime of being pulled into its depths is a powerful one. To simply sit and watch is difficult. The mind, especially the restless monkey mind, yearns for a place to rest its attention, a focus point. This is why we now introduce a tool of profound simplicity and power. We need an anchor, not a heavy, rigid anchor that holds us down with force, but a gentle, living anchor that connects us to the present moment, a steady point in the turning world. This anchor has been with you since the moment you were born, and it will be with you until your very last moment. It is your own breath. The breath is the perfect object of meditation for so many reasons. First, and most importantly, it is always in the present. You cannot take a breath that is in the past. You cannot take a breath that is in the future. Each breath, this one, right now, is an anchor cast directly into the soil of the here and now. The monkey mind, as we have seen, loves to live anywhere but here. It swings to the past with its regrets and nostalgia, and it leaps into the future with its anxieties and plans. By resting your attention on the breath, you are gently, persistently inviting the mind to come home. You are inviting it to leave the ghosts of yesterday and the phantoms of tomorrow, and to simply reside in the only moment that is ever real, which is this one. The breath is also the ultimate bridge between your body and your mind. It is a function of the autonomic nervous system, happening all by itself without your conscious command. Yet it is also something you can consciously influence. This unique position makes it a powerful regulator. By bringing your conscious, gentle attention to this unconscious process, you are creating a harmony between body and mind, signaling to your entire being that all is well. It is a direct line of communication to the deepest parts of yourself, a way of saying, with each conscious inhalation and exhalation, I am here, I am safe, it is time to rest. So now, let us begin the practice. There is nothing to force and nothing to achieve. You are simply going to rest your attention on the gentle rhythm of your own breathing. Do not try to change it. Do not try to make it deeper or slower or more meditative. Your breath knows exactly how it needs to be. Your only task is to feel it. Bring your awareness to the place in your body where the sensation of breathing is most clear to you. For some, this is at the very tip of the nostrils. You can feel the subtle coolness of the air as it enters and the gentle warmth of the air as it leaves. It is a very delicate, very precise point of sensation. For others, the sensation is more obvious in the chest, the feeling of the ribs gently expanding with the in-breath and softly contracting with the out-breath. And for many, the most calming sensation is in the abdomen, the soft rise of the belly as the diaphragm contracts and the lungs fill with air, and the gentle fall of the belly as the air is released. Take a moment now. Find your spot. It does not matter which one you choose. Simply choose one place to rest your weary mind. This will be your home base, your gentle anchor for the next little while. Now that you have found your spot, simply rest your attention there. Feel the full sensation of one single inhalation. Feel it from its very beginning to the moment it peaks and to its very end. And then feel the full sensation of the exhalation that follows. Feel it begin, feel it flow out of you, and feel the moment of stillness, the brief, peaceful pause before the next breath begins. That is all. You are just feeling one breath, and then the next. As you breathe in, you can silently say to yourself, in. As you breathe out, you can silently say to yourself, out. Or perhaps you prefer to count. Breathing in, 1. Breathing out, 1. Breathing in, 2. Breathing out, 2. All the way up to 10, and then you can begin again at 1. This is not a test of concentration. The numbers are just a gentle leash for the puppy-like mind, helping it to stay close. When your mind wanders away from the breath, which it will, do not be discouraged. This is not a mistake. It is not a failure. It is simply what minds do. The moment you realize, my mind has wandered, that very moment of realization is a moment of perfect mindfulness. In that moment, you have woken up from the dream of thought. And what do you do when you wake up? You simply, gently, and with great kindness to yourself, guide your attention back to your anchor, back to the feeling of the breath. Imagine you are training a small, beloved puppy to sit on a mat. You place the puppy on the mat. It immediately gets up and wanders away, sniffing at something interesting in the corner. You do not yell at the puppy. You do not get angry or frustrated. You simply, gently, pick up the puppy and place it back on the mat. A moment later, it wanders off again. You gently pick it up and place it back on the mat. Again and again. The practice of returning your attention to the breath is exactly like this. Each return is an act of gentle training, an act of self-compassion. It is in the returning, not in the staying, that the real practice lies. So be infinitely patient with yourself. Your mind may wander 100 times. You will have 100 opportunities to practice this gentle, kind returning. Think of a sailor caught in a terrifying storm. The wind howls, the rain lashes down, and massive waves crash over the deck of his small boat. The sky is black, and the sea is a churning chaos. A foolish sailor would try to fight the storm. He would yell at the wind. He would curse the waves. He would run frantically around the deck, trying to manage every rope and every sail at once. He would quickly become overwhelmed and exhausted, and his boat would be consumed by the sea. But a wise sailor knows that he cannot control the storm. The storm is far too powerful. The wise sailor ignores the chaos. He does not waste his energy fighting the wind or the waves. He dedicates his entire attention to one single crucial task: holding the rudder. He plants his feet firmly, grips the rudder with both hands, and keeps it steady. By focusing only on the rudder, by keeping it true, the boat naturally finds its way through the waves. It rises and it falls. It is tossed and turned. But because the rudder is steady, it remains oriented, and it will survive the storm. Your mind, tonight, may be a raging storm of thoughts and emotions. Do not fight the waves of anxiety. Do not curse the winds of worry. Be the wise sailor. Your rudder is your breath. Your only task is to hold it steady. Plant your awareness firmly upon it. Feel the in-breath. Feel the out-breath. This is your rudder. By keeping your attention here, your mind boat will naturally find its way through the storm of thought, and it will deliver you safely to the calm harbor of sleep. With each conscious breath, you are sending a message of calm from the conscious mind to the deepest parts of your nervous system. You are activating the parasympathetic response, the body's innate rest and digest system. Your heart rate begins to slow. Your muscles begin to release their tension. You are signaling to every cell in your body that the danger has passed, that the battle is over. It is safe to let go. It is safe to find peace. The breath, this gentle anchor, gives us the stability to stay on the riverbank of awareness. And now that we are stable, we are ready to look more deeply into the nature of the river itself, to learn its most fundamental lesson, the lesson of constant, unending change. With your attention resting gently on the rhythm of your own breath, you have found a quiet harbor. From this place of stability, we can now turn our gaze back towards the river of the mind, but with a new kind of wisdom, a deeper understanding of its fundamental nature. The breath itself has already been teaching you this lesson in miniature. Each inhalation is a birth. It arises from nothing. It swells to a peak. It sustains you for a moment, and then it passes away. It dissolves back into the emptiness from which the next breath will arise. Birth, life, and death, all in the space of a few seconds. This is the rhythm of the entire universe, and it is happening within you right now. This fundamental law of existence has a name in the teachings of the Buddha. It is called anicca, or impermanence. Understanding impermanence, not just as a philosophical idea, but as a deep, felt reality, is not a cause for sadness or despair. It is the key that unlocks the prison of our own anxieties and fears. It is the beginning of true freedom. Look first at the world around you, the world outside of your skin. Everything you can see, touch, and know is in a state of constant, unending flux. The sun rises, journeys across the sky, and sets, giving way to the moon, which in turn waxes and wanes. The seasons turn in their great, slow dance, from the green shoots of spring to the full bloom of summer, the brilliant decay of autumn, and the deep slumber of winter. A tiny seed, pushed into the dark earth, transforms into a delicate sprout, grows into a mighty tree, lives for 100 years, and then, inevitably, it withers, falls, and returns to the soil from which it came. Even the great mountains, which seem to be symbols of permanence, are being constantly, imperceptibly worn down by the wind and the rain, their dust carried away to the sea. The continents themselves are drifting. The stars in the night sky are being born and are dying in cycles that span billions of years. There is not a single thing in the entire cosmos that is static. Nothing is permanent. Everything is a process, a flow, a temporary arrangement of energy that will one day be something else. To resist this law is to resist the very nature of reality. It is to stand on the seashore and command the tides not to turn. It is an exhausting and ultimately a futile struggle. Now, turn this same loving, honest gaze inward. This same universal law of anicca applies with equal force to your own inner world. The thoughts that you observed on the riverbank, are they permanent? The worry that seemed so all-consuming an hour ago, where is it now? It has vanished, replaced by 100 other thoughts, each one as fleeting as the last. They are like bubbles on the surface of water, appearing for a moment in a shimmer of light, and then popping, gone forever. When we forget their impermanent nature, we give them a power they do not deserve. We treat a temporary cloud as if it were a permanent sky. The same is true for our emotions. This is perhaps the most liberating application of this teaching, especially as you lie here preparing for sleep. An emotion, whether it is a wave of anxiety, a pang of sadness, a flash of anger, or even a moment of great joy, is simply a form of energy moving through your body. It is weather. It is not you. When a feeling of anxiety arises, the common reaction is to resist it. We think, I shouldn't be feeling this, and we try to push it away, distract ourselves, or numb it. This resistance is like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. It takes enormous effort. And the moment you relax, the ball shoots up with even greater force. The practice of impermanence invites a different approach. When the feeling of anxiety arises, simply acknowledge its presence. Ah, there is anxiety. And then, instead of fighting it, simply observe it with curiosity. Where do you feel it in your body? Is it a tightness in the chest? A knot in the stomach? A tingling in your hands? Do not judge it. Just feel it as pure sensation. And as you watch it, you will notice something miraculous. It changes. The intensity might grow for a moment, and then it will crest like a wave, and then it will begin to subside. It is in constant motion. It is not a solid thing. It is a process. And if you allow it to be there, without feeding it with more worried thoughts, it will complete its natural life cycle and pass away. The same is true of physical pain or discomfort. An ache is not a single, monolithic thing. It is a constellation of shifting, vibrating sensations. By observing it with this microscopic, patient attention, you see its impermanent nature, and its power over you lessens. You can whisper to any difficult thought, any painful emotion, any uncomfortable sensation, a simple, powerful truth. This, too, will pass. This is not wishful thinking. It is the deepest law of the universe. There is a profound story that teaches this lesson more beautifully than any explanation. There was a young woman named Kisa Gotami, whose first and only child fell ill and died. Consumed by a grief so powerful it bordered on madness, she refused to accept that her son was gone. She clutched his small, lifeless body to her chest and wandered through her village, going from door to door, begging for a medicine that could bring him back. Some people mocked her, others pitied her, but no one could help her. Finally, a wise man saw her desperation and suggested she go to see the Buddha. She ran to the Buddha, laid her son at his feet, and pleaded for the miracle medicine. The Buddha looked at her with infinite compassion. He did not tell her that her son was dead and that she must accept it. He knew that her mind, shielded by grief, could not hear such a direct truth. Instead, he said to her, "I can make the medicine you seek, but to do so, I need one special ingredient. I need you to bring me a single mustard seed. But it must be a mustard seed taken from a house where no one, not a parent, not a child, not a husband or wife, not even a servant thus, ever died." Kisa Gautami's heart soared with hope. This seemed like such a simple task. She immediately began going from house to house. At the first house, she asked, "Can you spare a mustard seed for a medicine from the Buddha?" The woman of the house replied, "Of course," and went to get it. As she handed it over, Kisa Gautami remembered the Buddha's condition. "Wait," she said, "has anyone in this house ever died?" The woman's face fell. "Oh, my dear," she said, "do not remind me of my deepest sorrow. My beloved husband died just last year." Kisa Gautami, her hope dimming slightly, went to the next house. The same thing happened. "We have plenty of mustard seeds," the family said, "but our eldest son was taken from us." She went to a third house and a fourth and a fifth. She went through the entire village. At every single door, she heard a similar story. "My mother died here. We lost our baby daughter. My father passed in this very room." House after house, the answer was the same. Slowly, as the day wore on, a profound transformation began to happen within her. Her sharp, personal, isolating grief began to soften. She saw that her pain was not a unique curse. The loss she felt was a part of every life, in every home. She was not alone in her suffering. She was connected to everyone through this shared experience of impermanence. She finally understood. There was no house untouched by death. She took the body of her son to the charnel ground, let him go, and returned to the Buddha, not with a mustard seed, but with a quiet, peaceful understanding in her heart. She had learned the lesson of Anicca. Your anxieties about life, your fear of loss, your desperate wish for things to stay the same when they are good, and for things to change immediately when they are bad, are all expressions of forgetting the lesson that Kisa Gautami learned. We are all, in our own way, searching for a mustard seed from a house where there has been no loss, no change. We are looking for a permanent safety that does not exist. The peace we seek comes not when we find that magical house, but when we finally realize, as she did, that such a house cannot exist. This understanding is not morbid. It is the opposite. It is what makes life precious. Because this moment is impermanent, it is worthy of our full attention. Because our loved ones are impermanent, our time with them is sacred. Because joy is impermanent, we must savor it fully when it arrives. And because pain is impermanent, we know we have the strength to endure it until it passes. Realizing this allows us to loosen our white-knuckled grip on life. We can stop trying to hold on to the water of the river, and instead, we can learn to simply float. Understanding impermanence, this great law of change, naturally leads us to question the very nature of our grip. What is this grasping, this holding on, that causes us so much pain? This is the invisible baggage we carry, the burden of attachment. Having seen the truth of impermanence, that everything in the universe is in a constant state of flow, a new question naturally arises. If everything is always changing, like a great river flowing to the sea, then where does our suffering truly come from? It cannot come from the change itself, for change is the very nature of life. The pain we feel, the deep, gnawing dissatisfaction that keeps us awake at night, comes from one single source. It comes from our attempt to fight the flow. It comes from our grasping, our clinging, our desperate attempt to hold onto the water of the river as it slips through our fingers. In Buddhist teachings, this clinging is called upadana. It is the mental habit of attachment, and it is the direct cause of our anguish. The first noble truth teaches that pain in life is unavoidable. Bodies get sick, people leave us, things break. That is inevitable pain. But the suffering, the mental torment we build on top of that pain, is optional. That suffering is created entirely by our attachment, by our insistence that reality should be different from how it is. It is important to understand what attachment means in this context. It does not mean you cannot love people. It does not mean you cannot enjoy beautiful experiences or be grateful for your possessions. Love, joy, and gratitude are wholesome. Attachment, or clinging, is the layer of fear and craving that we add on top. It is the thought, I cannot be happy without this person. It is the fear, if I lose this job, my life is over. It is the demand, this perfect moment must last forever. It is the white-knuckled grip on our ideas, our identities, and our expectations. It is the friction we create by rubbing our desires against the unyielding texture of reality. And every night, when we lie down to sleep, we bring the accumulated weight of this friction with us. We carry invisible bags, filled with the heavy stones of our attachments, and we wonder why we cannot find rest. Tonight, let us gently, and without judgment, examine the contents of these bags, so that we may finally learn to set them down. The first, and perhaps the heaviest bag we carry, is the bag of the past. It is filled with the hard, sharp stones of regret. As you lie here, perhaps you can feel its weight. The mind digs into this bag and pulls out a stone, replaying a mistake you made at work, a thoughtless word you said to a loved one. You feel the flush of embarrassment, the pang of guilt, all over again, as if it were happening right now. We tell ourselves that by ruminating, we are somehow learning or solving something, but most often, we are simply reopening old wounds. This bag is also filled with the bitter dust of resentment. The mind pulls out a memory of how someone wronged you, a betrayal, an injustice. You feel the fire of anger, the ache of being wronged, and you rehearse the arguments you should have made, the things you wish you could say. You are drinking a poison from the past and hoping the other person will feel its effects. This bag does not serve you. The past is gone. It exists now only as a memory, a thought form in your mind. To carry it is to choose to weigh yourself down. So, right now, visualize this heavy bag beside you. See the stones of regret and the dust of resentment. And with a conscious, gentle intention, allow yourself to set it down. You can learn from the past without being burdened by it. Let it go. The second bag we carry is the bag of the future. This bag is not filled with heavy stones, but with a swirling, disorienting fog of anxiety and endless planning. Its signature is the phrase, "What if? What if I fail the presentation? What if I get sick? What if my children aren't happy? What if I run out of money?" The mind leaps into 1,000 possible futures, almost all of them negative, and it tries to solve every potential problem before it happens. It is a state of constant, low-grade rehearsal for disasters that will likely never occur. This is the ultimate act of resistance against the unknown. We want certainty, a guarantee that everything will be okay. But the future by its very nature, is uncertain. To demand certainty is to demand the impossible. This bag exhausts us. It keeps our nervous system in a state of high alert, of fight or flight, making deep rest impossible. So, visualize this swirling bag of fog beside you now. See the endless, branching paths of worry, and with a quiet sense of trust, set this bag down too. You cannot control the future. You can only meet it, one present moment at a time. Let it go. The third bag is more subtle, but just as heavy. It is the bag of our identity. It is filled with delicate, fragile glass sculptures of who we believe we are. I am a successful person. I am a creative person. I am a good parent. I am an anxious person. We cling to these labels, these self-concepts. We curate them. We defend them. And so, anything that threatens these fragile sculptures causes us immense suffering. A piece of criticism at work threatens the successful person sculpture. A period of creative block threatens the creative person sculpture. A difficult day with our children threatens the good parent sculpture. Even clinging to a negative identity like, I am an anxious person, is a form of attachment. It gives us a strange sense of certainty, and we unconsciously act in ways that reinforce it. But you are not these labels. You are vaster, more mysterious, and more fluid than any glass sculpture. You are the sky, not a single cloud. So, visualize this bag of fragile identities. See the labels you cling to so tightly, and with a sense of profound relief, set this bag down. Allow yourself to simply be, without definition, without a label. Let it go. There is a timeless Zen story that perfectly illustrates this entire teaching. 2 monks, one senior and one junior, were on a long pilgrimage. They followed a path that had been churned to mud by heavy rains, and they came to a place where a wide, rushing river had flooded the road. On the riverbank stood a beautiful young woman in fine silk robes, looking distressed as she could not cross without ruining her clothes and possibly being swept away. The 2 monks had taken strict vows, and one of the most serious was to avoid all physical contact with women. The junior monk, seeing the woman, immediately looked away, thinking only of his vows. He began to ponder how they could get around this obstacle. The senior monk, however, looked at the situation, looked at the woman's distress, and without a word, he walked over to her, lifted her into his arms, and carried her across the turbulent water. He set her down gently on the other side, bowed, and continued his journey. The junior monk was speechless, with shock and outrage. He hurried to catch up, his mind a storm of judgment. How could he do that? He broke our sacred vows. What will people think? He is a disgrace. For the next several hours, as they walked on in silence, the junior monk was consumed by this event. He replayed it in his mind again and again. He felt the anger, the righteousness, the confusion. He was carrying the woman, the river, the broken vow, and his own judgment with him every single step of the way. Finally, as evening approached, he could bear it no longer. He burst out at the senior monk. How could you do that back there? You know we are forbidden to touch a woman, yet you picked her up and carried her in your arms. The senior monk stopped, looked at his agitated companion with genuine surprise, and said with a gentle voice, "Brother, I left that woman by the riverbank hours ago. Are you still carrying her? As you lie here tonight, ask yourself this question with gentle honesty. What are you still carrying? Are you carrying a mistake from last week, an insult from last month, a worry about next year? These are your invisible bags. These are the women by the river that you refuse to set down. The practice of letting go is the practice of becoming the senior monk. It is the practice of dealing with the present moment as it is, and then letting it be over when it is over. You can do this right now. You can practice this physically. Gently clench your fists. Feel the tension in your fingers and your forearms. Feel the strain, the effort. This is the feeling of clinging, of holding on. Now, very slowly, one finger at a time, begin to open your hands. Feel the release of tension. Feel the ease that comes into your muscles. Let your hands rest open, palms facing up, in a gesture of release, of surrender. This is the posture of non-attachment. It is not apathy. It is a wise and powerful release of the need to control. By setting down these heavy bags of the past, the future, and the self, we create a space inside us. An empty space, not a barren, empty space, but a clear, fertile ground. We have emptied our hands of these heavy, useless stones. The question now becomes, what wholesome seeds shall we choose to plant in this newly prepared inner garden? Having set down the invisible bags of your attachments, you may now feel a sense of lightness, a sense of space. Your inner landscape, once cluttered with the baggage of past and future, is now clear. But a garden that has been cleared of stones and weeds, if left unattended, will not remain clear for long. The persistent weeds of old habits, worry, and fear will soon grow back, perhaps even stronger than before. Therefore, this newly created space is not an endpoint, but an opportunity, an invitation to consciously cultivate something new. We must choose what seeds we wish to plant in this fertile ground. And of all the seeds of wisdom, the most powerful, the most healing, the most transformative is the seed of metta. Metta is a word from the ancient Pali language that is often translated as loving kindness, but it is deeper than that. It is a boundless, unconditional, friendly warmth toward all of life, starting with yourself. For most of us, this is the most difficult part of the journey, to turn this warmth inward. We live with a relentless inner critic, a harsh judge who sits on the throne of our mind. This voice knows all of our insecurities and reminds us of them constantly. It keeps a detailed record of every mistake we have ever made, every failure, every awkward moment, and it replays these clips for us in the quiet hours of the night. It compares us unfavorably to others, telling us we are not smart enough, not successful enough, not good enough. We have been conditioned to believe that this inner critic is a friend, a stern motivator that keeps us sharp and pushes us to do better. But this is a profound illusion. The inner critic is not a motivator, it is a tormentor. It generates the toxic stress hormones that flood our system, keeping us in a state of anxiety and defense. It creates a cold, hard, compacted soil in our inner garden, a ground so frigid and unforgiving that no seed of peace or joy can possibly take root. The practice of metta is the act of gently dethroning this critic, of bringing a source of warmth to this frozen inner ground. We cannot give to the world what we do not possess ourselves. To attempt to be compassionate toward others while treating ourselves with harshness is like trying to pour water from an empty cup. It is a hollow gesture that will eventually lead to burnout and resentment. So, the practice of metta must always begin at home, with you. This may feel strange, or selfish, or even impossible at first. That is perfectly normal. The habit of self-criticism is strong. Our task is not to force a feeling of love, but to simply plant the seeds of intention, to gently water them with our attention, and to trust that in time, they will grow. Let us begin this practice together. First, allow your attention to settle in the area of your heart. You can even place a hand over your heart if that feels comforting. Now, try to call to mind a feeling of simple, uncomplicated warmth. Perhaps you can remember a time when someone showed you genuine, unconditional kindness. Perhaps you can recall the feeling of holding a beloved pet, the simple, trusting warmth of a dog or a cat curled up beside you. Or perhaps you can think of a beautiful, peaceful place in nature. It does not matter what the image is. Just try to touch the feeling of warmth, of safety, of kindness, even just for a fleeting moment. Now, see if you can gently begin to direct that feeling inward toward yourself. And we will use a few simple phrases, repeating them silently, like a gentle lullaby for the heart. Let the words be soft. The intention is everything. Silently, gently, offer this to yourself. May I be safe. This is a wish for safety from all outer harm, but more deeply, for safety from your own inner critic, from the storms of anxiety and fear. A wish for a true inner refuge. May I be safe. Next, offer this phrase. May I be healthy. This is a wish for the health of your body, for its strength and resilience. But it is also a wish for the health of your mind and your heart, for sanity, for balance, for emotional well-being. May I be healthy. Now, offer the phrase, may I be happy. This is not a wish for fleeting pleasure or constant excitement. It is a wish for a deep, abiding happiness that comes from within, a happiness that is not dependent on external conditions, a wish for you to touch the joy that is your birthright. May I be happy. And finally, offer this phrase, may I live with ease. This is a wish for freedom from struggle, a wish that you may navigate the challenges of life with grace and resilience, free from the heavy, grinding torment of mental friction and resistance. A wish for a life of peace. May I live with ease. Continue to repeat these phrases gently. May I be safe. May I be healthy. May I be happy. May I live with ease. Your inner critic may protest. It might say, you don't deserve this, or this is silly. When you hear that voice, just acknowledge it as you would any other thought on the river and gently return to the phrases. You are not trying to argue with the critic. You are simply planting different seeds. You are introducing a new voice, a voice of warmth and kindness. You are slowly, patiently, thawing the frozen ground of your own heart. Now that you have established this gentle warmth for yourself, we can begin to expand the circle. Bring to mind a loved one, someone for whom it is easy to feel affection and gratitude, a good friend, a family member, a mentor, or even a pet. Picture them clearly in your mind's eye. See them happy and well. And now, extend the same wishes to them. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be happy. May you live with ease. Feel the warmth of your heart naturally flowing out to this person, wishing them everything you would wish for yourself. Rest with this feeling for a few moments. Next, bring to mind a neutral person. This is someone you see in your daily life, but have no strong feelings about the person who sells you your coffee. A neighbor you see in the hallway, someone you pass on your commute. You do not know their story, their struggles, or their joys. You only know that, just like you, they wish to be happy and free from suffering. So, picture this person and extend the same wishes to them. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be happy. May you live with ease. In doing this, you are breaking down the invisible walls of indifference that separate us from one another. You are recognizing our shared humanity. Now comes the most challenging and perhaps the most transformative step. bring to mind, gently, a difficult person, someone with whom you have a conflict, someone who has hurt you or caused you frustration. The purpose here is not to condone their harmful actions or to force a feeling of forgiveness that isn't there. This is a practice for your own liberation. Holding on to anger and resentment is like holding a hot coal, intending to throw it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. So, for your own sake, see if you can wish this person freedom from the very suffering that causes them to act in unskillful, harmful ways. People who are truly happy and at peace do not hurt others. So, you can wish for them. May you be free from the anger and ignorance that causes you to suffer. May you too find peace. This is an act of profound compassion, one that frees you from the poison of hatred. And finally, let the circle expand to become boundless. Picture the warmth from your heart radiating outwards in all directions, to all people in your town, your country, and throughout the world. Extend it to all animals, to all beings living in the oceans, in the forests, in the air, to all beings, seen and unseen, near and far, without any exception. May all beings be safe. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be happy. May all beings live with ease. Rest in this state of boundless, unconditional friendliness. This inner warmth is not just a pleasant feeling. It is a shield. It is a source of immense strength. There is a story of a man who, in a fit of rage, came to find the Buddha to insult him. He screamed at the Buddha, calling him a fraud and a fool. He spat in his direction. Throughout this tirade, the Buddha sat with perfect calm and composure, his heart filled with metta for this deeply suffering man. When the man finally exhausted himself and fell silent, the Buddha spoke to him softly. He asked, "Sir, if you purchase a gift to give to someone, but that person does not accept your gift, to whom does the gift then belong?" The angry man, taken aback, replied, "Well, it would belong to me, of course." The Buddha nodded and said, "Exactly. And so it is, with your anger and your insults. You have offered them to me as a gift, but I do not accept them. A heart that is protected by metta is non-reactive. It does not need to accept the poison of others' anger or negativity. It remains in its own state of warmth and peace. By planting these seeds of compassion in your inner garden, you create a sanctuary, a place of resilience and strength. With a heart now softened and fortified by this practice, you are ready to look at the truth of life's difficulties, not with fear or aversion, but with a wise, steady, and courageous gaze. With a heart that has been warmed and softened by the practice of loving kindness, we now possess the gentle strength and courage needed for the next step on our journey. We are ready to look at life with unflinching honesty, not through a lens of fear or aversion, but with the clear, steady gaze of a compassionate observer. When the Buddha first began to teach, he did not begin with esoteric philosophy or complex rituals. His first teaching was that of a master physician. He knew that before any cure can be offered, before any medicine can be prescribed, there must first be a clear, precise, and courageous diagnosis of the condition. This diagnosis is the foundation of his entire path to liberation. It is the first noble truth, the truth of dukkha. To a modern ear, the word dukkha is often translated simply as suffering, and this can make the teaching sound pessimistic or life-denying, but this is a deep misunderstanding. Dukkha is a far more subtle and profound concept. It is not a declaration that life is miserable. It is a wise and loving acknowledgement of a fundamental friction that runs through all of our conditioned existence. To look at dukkha is not an act of negativity. It is the most hopeful and realistic thing we can do, for it is the essential first step toward healing. To truly understand dukkha, we must see that it manifests in at least 3 distinct layers, like concentric circles, moving from the obvious to the incredibly subtle. The first layer is the most straightforward. It is dukkha dukkha, the suffering of suffering. This is the pain that is undeniable to everyone. It is the pain of the body, the headache that throbs behind your eyes, the chronic ache in your back, the sudden illness that lays you low, the inevitable process of aging, and the finality of death. This is also the raw pain of the heart, the grief that comes from losing someone you love, the sting of rejection, the bitterness of betrayal, the deep sadness that can descend for no apparent reason. This level of dukkha is universal. No amount of wealth, power, or good fortune can make a person immune to sickness, old age, death, and loss. To deny this reality is to live in a fantasy. The first noble truth simply asks us to acknowledge this truth without flinching. Yes, there is pain in life. It is an intrinsic part of the human experience. The second layer is more subtle, and it connects directly to our previous exploration of impermanence. It is called viparinama dukkha, the suffering of change. This is the stress and anxiety that arises from the fact that even our pleasant experiences are fleeting. Think of a perfect, beautiful moment in your life. A spectacular sunset, a joyful celebration with friends, a moment of profound love or connection. In the midst of that joy, is there not often a subtle, underlying whisper of sadness, a quiet fear that this moment will end? That is viparinama dukkha. It is the anxiety of clinging to happiness. We get the promotion we wanted, and for a while, we are happy. But soon, the anxiety of potentially losing it, or the desire for the next promotion, begins to creep in. We are in a wonderful relationship, and yet we worry about a future where it might change or end. This form of dukkha reveals a profound truth. Our suffering is not caused by the pleasant experience itself, but by our clinging to it, our resistance to its impermanent nature. We are trying to build a permanent house on shifting sands, and the constant effort of trying to keep it from collapsing is a deep source of stress. The third layer is the most subtle, the most pervasive, and for many of us lying awake in the quiet of the night, the most relevant. It is called sankhara dukkha, the suffering of conditioned existence. This is not about a specific pain or a specific pleasure that has faded. This is the background hum of dissatisfaction, the feeling of being not quite at ease in our own skin, the vague but persistent sense that something is fundamentally unsettled. It is the inherent stress of being a complex, conditioned being in a complex, unreliable world. Our bodies are conditioned. Our thoughts are conditioned by our past. Our emotions are conditioned responses. We are a bundle of ever-changing physical and mental processes, clinging to the idea of a solid, permanent self. This fundamental tension, this friction between our desire for permanence and the reality of our fluctuating nature, is sankhara, dukkha. It is the restlessness that makes us reach for our phone when there is a moment of silence. It is the anxiety that simmers just below the surface of a seemingly calm day. It is the exhaustion that comes from the constant, low-level effort of holding our self together. This is the dukkha that the Buddha pointed to as the deepest problem to be solved. To understand how we can work with all these forms of suffering, the Buddha offered a powerful parable, the story of the 2 arrows. Imagine you are walking through a forest, and suddenly, you are struck in the arm by an arrow. The physical pain is immediate and intense. This is the first arrow. It represents the unavoidable pains of life we just discussed. The sickness, the loss, the accident, the criticism. These first arrows are a part of life in the forest. You cannot always avoid them. Now, what is the usual reaction to being hit by this first arrow? We immediately shoot ourselves with a second arrow. This second arrow is our mental reaction to the first. It is the arrow of our thoughts and emotions. We think, why me? This is terrible. I can't believe this happened. It's unfair. This is a catastrophe. I'll never recover from this. This second arrow is made of blame, self-pity, anger, fear, and rumination. The pain of the first arrow is real, but the wound from the second arrow is often far deeper and lasts much longer. It is the second arrow that truly creates what we call suffering. Let's bring this into your life. The first arrow is a difficult interaction with your boss. The pain is a feeling of embarrassment or frustration. The second arrow is the rest of the day spent replaying the conversation in your mind, beating yourself up for what you said or didn't say, fuming with resentment, and worrying about your job security. The first arrow is a sleepless night. The second arrow is the catastrophic thinking that follows. I'll be useless tomorrow. I'm going to get sick. My health is falling apart. I'll never be able to sleep normally again. The first arrow is a physical ache. The second arrow is the fear and anxiety we weave around it. The Buddha's teaching is revolutionary. He taught that while we cannot always control the first arrow, the second arrow is entirely optional. The path to peace is not about becoming magically immune to life's first arrows. It is about learning the skill of not shooting the second one. How do we do this? We begin by shifting the fundamental question we ask when pain arises. Our habit is to ask, why is this happening to me? This question immediately casts us as the victim in a personal drama, and it leads only to more second arrows of blame and self-pity. The practice of mindfulness invites a new, more powerful question. What is the nature of this experience right now? When a difficult emotion arises, instead of asking, why am I so anxious? You ask, what does anxiety feel like in my body? Is it a tightness, a vibration, a coolness, a heat? Is it changing? This shift in questioning takes you out of the story and into direct, raw sensation. It depersonalizes the pain. You are no longer the victim of your anxiety. You are the curious, compassionate scientist observing the phenomenon of anxiety. You are stepping out of the drama and becoming the witness. This creates space, and in that space, you find you do not need to shoot the second arrow. To look squarely at dukkha, to acknowledge its presence in your life, is an act of profound courage and self-compassion. True pessimism is walking around with these first and second arrows sticking out of you, all while pretending that everything is fine. True, realistic optimism is having the courage to say, yes, this arrow is here. It hurts. Only by acknowledging the wound can we begin to gently remove the arrows and allow for healing. We have now made the diagnosis. We have looked at the symptom, the universal condition of dukkha in all its forms. A skilled physician, having identified the illness, does not stop there. The next logical and necessary step is to find its root cause. Why do we keep shooting ourselves with that second arrow? What is the origin of this deep habit of creating our own suffering? This is the second noble truth, the truth of the origin of dukkha, and it is where our journey will turn next. Having looked with courage and compassion at the reality of dukkha, the inherent dissatisfaction and stress of our existence, we arrive at the next crucial step in the physician's diagnosis. A great doctor, after identifying the symptoms of an illness, does not despair. Instead, they seek its cause. The Buddha's most radical and empowering discovery was this: our suffering is not a random punishment from an uncaring universe, nor is it a curse imposed by an angry God. It is not without a cause. Our suffering arises from a specific, identifiable source within our own minds. This is the second noble truth, the truth of samudaya, which means origin or source. This is perhaps the most hopeful of all the teachings, because if our suffering has a cause, and that cause is within us, then it means the solution is also within our grasp. We are not helpless victims. We hold the key to our own liberation. The source of our suffering, the Buddha taught, is a profound and persistent inner thirst, a craving he called tanha. It is this deep, restless thirst that drives us to constantly feed the flames of our own discontent. Imagine that your suffering, your dukkha, is a great bonfire burning in the center of your being. It crackles with anxiety, it smolders with resentment, and it flares up with anger and fear. We spend so much of our lives running from this fire, trying to distract ourselves from its heat, or complaining about how much it burns. But we rarely stop to ask the most important question: what is fueling it? A fire cannot burn without fuel. The teaching of samudaya is a guide to help us identify the very logs we are, often unconsciously, throwing onto our own bonfire. By understanding the nature of this fuel, we can learn to stop feeding the fire, and a fire that is no longer fed will, inevitably and naturally, burn itself out. This fuel, this tanha, this deep inner thirst, manifests primarily in three forms. In the Buddhist tradition, these are sometimes called the three poisons, not to condemn them as sins, but to recognize them as mental states that are toxic to our peace. They are greed, hatred, and delusion. Let us first examine the log of greed, or craving. In the Pali language, this is lobha. This is the energy of pulling toward, the relentless desire for more, better, and different. It is the voice in our mind that constantly whispers, "If only I had that, then I would be happy." This craving operates on several levels. The most obvious is the craving for sense pleasures. As you lie here, you can likely recall it from your day. It is the craving for that extra slice of cake, the desire to keep scrolling through your phone for one more interesting post, one more bit of news, one more dopamine hit. It is the thirst for pleasant sounds, pleasant tastes, pleasant sights, and pleasant physical sensations. We chase these fleeting pleasures, believing they will quench our inner thirst. But the Buddha compared this to drinking salt water. The more we drink, the thirstier we become. The momentary pleasure quickly fades, leaving behind an even deeper sense of lack, which then fuels the next round of craving. This endless cycle of wanting, getting, and wanting again is a primary source of the mental agitation that prevents deep rest. But this craving goes deeper than just sensory pleasure. There is also the craving for existence, the craving to become something more. This is the fuel of ambition and insecurity. It is the desire to be more successful, more famous, more attractive, more respected. It is the restless energy that drives the endless planning and striving that keeps your mind racing at night. You lie in bed not resting, but composing emails in your head, rehearsing presentations, and strategizing your next move on the chessboard of life. This is the thirst to solidify and enhance the fragile sense of self. And just as potent is its opposite, the craving for non-existence. This sounds more spiritual, but it is just as much a source of suffering. This is the desperate wish to get rid of something unpleasant. As you lie here feeling anxious, the thought, "I just want this feeling to go away," is a form of craving. You are craving a different state of being. You are craving the absence of anxiety. This aversion to your present moment experience is a powerful log thrown onto the fire, creating a battle within yourself. The second log that fuels the fire is hatred or aversion. In Pali, this is dvesha. If craving is the energy of pulling things toward you, aversion is the energy of violently pushing things away. It is the engine of the second arrow. It is the deep, visceral no that we scream internally at reality when it does not conform to our wishes. Its most obvious forms are anger, rage, and irritation. It is the fury you feel when someone cuts you off in traffic, the simmering resentment toward a co-worker, the sharp irritation at a sound that interrupts your peace. This energy is incredibly hot and destructive, burning us from the inside out and clouding our judgment completely. But just as with craving, its more subtle forms are often more pernicious. Aversion manifests as impatience, as judgment, as condemnation. As you lie here, unable to sleep, notice the subtle energy of aversion you might have toward your own wakefulness, the frustration, the judgment that says, "My body is failing me," the impatience that asks, "Why aren't you asleep yet?" This very resistance, this pushing away of the present reality of your wakefulness, creates tension and stress, making sleep even more elusive. You are pushing away the very peace you seek. The third poison is the root of the other two. It is the soil from which the trees of greed and hatred grow. This is delusion or ignorance, known as moha. This does not mean you are unintelligent or uneducated. A person can have many PhDs and still be deeply caught in moha. This is a fundamental misperception of reality, like looking at the world through a distorted lens. Specifically, it is the ignorance of the truths we have already touched upon. It is the delusion of seeing things that are impermanent as permanent. Because we are deluded about the fleeting nature of pleasure, we crave it and cling to it, only to suffer when it inevitably fades. It is the delusion of seeing things that are inherently dissatisfying, dukkha, as being capable of providing us with ultimate, lasting happiness. We believe the new car, the new relationship, the new job will finally be the thing that makes us whole, and we are repeatedly shocked and disappointed when it doesn't. And most profoundly, it is the delusion of seeing that which is not self, anatta, as a solid, separate, enduring self. Because of this deep-seated delusion, we take everything personally. We believe we are our thoughts, we are our emotions, we are our successes and failures. This mistaken identity is what makes the first arrow of life feel like a personal attack. And it is what guarantees that we will immediately and reflexively shoot the second arrow of reactivity. Moha, this fundamental ignorance, is the darkness that prevents us from seeing things as they truly are. These three poisons are not isolated. They feed and reinforce one another in a vicious cycle that powers the wheel of our suffering. Out of delusion, you believe a new gadget will make you happy. This gives rise to craving. You buy the gadget. The pleasure is temporary. Your delusion makes you believe that maybe a different, better gadget is the answer. Or perhaps you see a neighbor with a better one, which gives rise to the aversion of jealousy and resentment. This cycle of delusion leading to craving, leading to aversion, and back to more delusion, is the very engine of the restless, dissatisfied mind. As you lie here, you can begin the gentle practice of identifying this fuel in your own life. Looking back over your day, not with judgment, but with the curiosity of a kind investigator, you can ask, where did I feel the pull of craving? Where did I feel the push of aversion? What misunderstanding of reality was I operating under in that moment? To simply see the fuel, to recognize it for what it is the first step in choosing not to use it. It is an act of reclaiming your power. We have now diagnosed the illness, dukkha, and we have identified the very fuel that feeds its flames. The tanha, expressed as greed, hatred, and delusion. The next question follows with perfect, hopeful logic. What happens to a fire when we simply stop throwing logs on it? What is the experience of the fire going out? This is the promise of the third noble truth, the truth of Nirodha, the cessation of suffering. We have walked a courageous path together so far. We began by looking unflinchingly at the diagnosis of our shared human condition, the truth of dukkha, or suffering. Then, like a skilled physician, we trace that illness back to its root cause, the truth of samudaya, the inner thirst or craving that fuels the fires of our discontent. Now we arrive at the third, and most wonderful, of the four noble truths. We arrive at the prognosis. And the prognosis is one of profound and absolute hope. The Buddha's third great proclamation, the truth that illuminates the entire path, is this: there can be an end to suffering. The fires of greed, hatred, and delusion can be put out. This is the truth of Nirodha, a word that literally means cessation. It points to a state of unshakable peace, freedom, and clarity that is available to us. Suffering is not our ultimate destiny. It is not a life sentence. It is a curable condition. Before we explore what this state of Nirodha is, it is crucial to understand what it is not, as there are many deep-seated misconceptions that can cloud our understanding. The ultimate state of peace pointed to by the truth of Nirodha is often called nirvana. For many, this word conjures images of a heavenly paradise, a beautiful place we go to after we die, if we have been good. This is not what the Buddha taught. Nirvana is not a location. It is a state of mind. It is not a reward in the afterlife. It is a possibility in this very life, in this very body. The Buddha was not a priest promising a future heaven. He was a psychologist and a spiritual scientist, offering a practical method for finding peace here and now. Secondly, nirvana is not a state of annihilation, of ceasing to exist. It is true that it is the cessation of the self, but the self that ceases is the false self, the egoic construct we have built out of our fears and desires, the small, anxious I that we so desperately defend. The cessation of this false self does not lead to nothingness. It leads to everything. It is a falling away of the barriers that separate us from life, an opening into a vaster, more connected reality. Finally, nirvana is not a state of zombie-like apathy or emotional numbness. It is not about no longer feeling. In fact, it is the opposite. It is about feeling life more fully, more directly, without the distorting filters of craving and aversion. It is a state of profound sensitivity and engagement with reality, but from a place of unshakable inner balance. So, what is Nirodha? What is this state of nirvana? Let us return to our metaphor of the bonfire. We have seen that dukkha, our suffering, is the fire. We have seen that tanha, our craving, is the fuel we keep throwing on it. Nirodha, then, is simply the state of the fire having gone out for lack of fuel. It is cessation. It is extinction. It is the end of the burning. It is not the destruction of the fireplace, which is your mind and body, but the extinguishing of the painful, destructive flames. Imagine what remains. when the fire of greed and endless wanting finally goes out, what is left is not a barren emptiness, but a deep and simple contentment. It is an appreciation for things as they are, without the constant need for them to be more, better, or different. It is the quiet joy of a heart that is no longer thirsty. What remains when the hot, consuming fire of hatred and aversion goes out? What is left is not indifference, but a vast, cool peace. It is patience. It is a profound acceptance of reality. It is the boundless warmth of compassion for all beings who, like us, are caught in their own struggles. And what remains when the confusing, smoky fire of delusion and ignorance finally goes out? What is left is not a blank slate, but a brilliant diamond-like clarity. It is wisdom. It is the ability to see things exactly as they are, free from our projections and stories. This is nirvana. It is the cool, calm, and clear state of a mind that is no longer on fire. It is a peace that is not dependent on external conditions, a peace that the Buddha described as unshakable. Perhaps a more gentle metaphor is that of a dark room. Imagine you have spent your entire life in a room that is pitch black. This darkness is your suffering, your dukkha. It is fed by your ignorance, your moha, of what lies beyond the darkness. Living in this room, you are constantly bumping into furniture, stumbling, and hurting yourself. This is your life of reactivity, of shooting the second arrow. A foolish person in this situation would try to fight the darkness. They might try to shovel it out the window, or shout at it, or push against it with all their might, trying to force it from the room. We do this all the time. We fight our anxiety, we wrestle with our sadness, we try to push away our pain, and it is always exhausting and completely ineffective. You cannot get rid of darkness by fighting it. A wise person understands a simple truth. Darkness is not a positive substance. It has no independent existence. Darkness is merely the absence of light. Therefore, the wise person does not struggle with the darkness at all. They simply light a candle. The very instant the flame appears, the darkness vanishes. It does not flee to a corner. It does not put up a fight. It simply ceases to be, because its defining condition, the absence of light, is no longer present. Nirodha is the experience of the room filled with light. The darkness of suffering is dispelled, not by fighting it, but by introducing the light of wisdom. The candle flame is your mindfulness, your steady, present moment awareness. The light it casts is wisdom, the clear seeing of impermanence, not self, and the nature of dukkha itself. The path is the act of lighting that candle. We do not have to become warriors who vanquish our suffering. We need only become lamplighters. The promise of Nirodha is the promise that the light is more powerful than the dark. This state of profound peace may sound distant or abstract, but you have likely already tasted small glimpses of it in your own life. Think of a time you were completely absorbed in a creative act, painting, playing music, writing, or even gardening. In those moments, did your sense of a separate, worried self seem to fall away? Did time seem to disappear? That state of flow is a small taste of Nirodha, a temporary cessation of the clinging mind. Or think of a moment of being in profound awe of nature, standing before a vast ocean, a towering mountain range, or a star-filled night sky. In that moment of awe, did your personal problems and anxieties seem to shrink into insignificance? That too is a glimpse of nirvana, a moment where the small self dissolves into a feeling of vast connection. Even the experience of deep, dreamless sleep is a kind of unconscious, temporary Nirodha. It is a state where the thinking, planning, worrying mind has completely ceased its activity, allowing the body and mind to access their deepest healing. By seeing this, sleep is no longer a failure or a problem to be solved, but a nightly opportunity to practice, letting go into this state of cessation. These glimpses show us that this peace is not foreign. It is a natural state that is always available to us, hidden just beneath the surface of our mental chatter. We have now followed the physician's path completely. We have seen the diagnosis of the illness, dukkha. We have identified its root cause, samudaya, and we have received the hopeful prognosis, the truth of nirodha, that a complete cure is possible. The final and most practical question remains: what, precisely, is the medicine? What is the prescription we must follow? How do we systematically stop feeding the fire? How, exactly, do we light the candle? This is the subject of the fourth and final noble truth, the truth of Magga, the eightfold path that leads to the end of suffering. We have journeyed through the landscape of our own suffering, not as victims, but as physicians. We have diagnosed the ailment, the pervasive sense of unease that the Buddha called dukkha. We have traced its root, finding it in the grasping, the aversion, the misunderstanding that the Buddha called samudaya. And we have seen, with a profound sense of hope, that there is an end to this fever. We have touched the possibility of a deep and abiding peace, the cool stillness of nirodha, the cessation of suffering. This is not a distant dream, but a reality available to the heart that is willing to heal. But a destination, no matter how beautiful, remains out of reach without a path to get there. The physician who diagnoses the illness and identifies the cause, but offers no cure, has only done half the work. The Buddha, in his profound compassion, did not leave us standing at the shore, gazing longingly at the promise of peace on the other side. He gave us a raft, a vessel sturdy enough to carry us across the turbulent waters of our own confusion. He gave us a map, and he drew for us the path. This is the fourth noble truth, the truth of the way, known as Magga. It is called the Noble Eightfold Path, a complete and practical guide for living, a design for human flourishing. Think of this path not as a rigid staircase you must climb in a specific order, but as a holistic way of being, where each part supports and deepens all the others, like the interwoven strands of a single, beautiful rope. It is not a set of rules handed down from on high, demanding blind obedience. It is an invitation to walk, to experience, and to see for yourself if this path leads to a place of greater freedom and peace. It is called the middle way, for it avoids the extremes that cause so much of our suffering. It steers clear of the frantic pursuit of sensual pleasure, which ultimately leads to emptiness, and it avoids the harsh self-mortification that weakens the body and exhausts the mind. It is a path of balance, of wisdom, and of profound self-respect. As you lie here tonight, preparing for sleep, let us not see this path as a list of tasks to be accomplished. Let us see it as a blueprint for peace, a way to gently organize the mind and heart, so that rest can come not as an escape, but as a natural homecoming. The path is traditionally divided into three essential aspects of training: wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline. Let us begin with wisdom, or panya, for it is with wisdom that we first begin to see our way. Wisdom is the light we carry, illuminating the path ahead. It consists of two factors: right view and right intention. Right view, or samadhi, is the foundation of the entire path. It is the map. If you are to build a raft, you must first understand the nature of the river, the currents, and the location of the far shore. Right view is simply seeing things as they truly are, not as we wish them to be or fear them to be. It is the clear-eyed understanding of the Four Noble Truths themselves. It is seeing the reality of impermanence in every aspect of our lives, acknowledging that our thoughts, our feelings, and even this very body are in a constant state of flux. It is the wisdom that recognizes the law of karma, the simple truth that our actions, driven by intention, have consequences. Wholesome actions lead to happiness, and unwholesome actions lead to suffering. And finally, right view is the dawning insight into non-self, the understanding that there is no fixed, solid, independent I at the center of our experience. When you lie in bed, and the mind spins stories of who you are, what you have done, what you must become, this is the product of wrong view. It is the belief in a solid, permanent self that must be defended, promoted, and gratified. Right view allows us to see these thoughts for what they are: temporary mental events, passing clouds in the vast sky of the mind. It is the lens that corrects the distortions of fear and desire, allowing us to see reality with calm clarity. Following naturally from right view is right intention, or samma sankappa. If right view is the map, right intention is the hand on the rudder, steering our vessel. It is the quality of our motivation. What is the energy that drives our thoughts, our words, and our actions? The Buddha spoke of 3 types of right intention. The first is the intention of renunciation, which is not about giving up the world, but about letting go of our clinging to it. It is the intention to release our grip on obsessive desires and anxieties. As you prepare for sleep, this is the gentle intention to let go of the day, to release the successes and the failures, the conversations and the conflicts. The second is the intention of goodwill or loving kindness. It is the active wish for the happiness and well-being of all beings, starting with yourself. It is the antidote to anger, resentment, and ill will. It is the quiet whisper in the heart: may I be peaceful, may you be peaceful, may all beings be well. The third is the intention of harmlessness or compassion. It is the wish that all beings, including ourselves, be free from suffering. It is the intention to act in ways that do not cause harm to anyone, physically or emotionally. Before you drift into sleep, you can consciously set this intention. You can steer your mind away from the rocky shores of resentment and fear, and point it toward the open, peaceful waters of kindness and release. This sets the entire tone for your inner world. The second division of the path is ethical conduct, or sila. This is the very substance of our raft. Wisdom may be the map, but without a solid vessel, we cannot make the journey. Sila is how we conduct ourselves in the world, how we interact with others. It is the practice of harmlessness, the foundation of all spiritual progress. It creates a mind that is not agitated by remorse, guilt, or fear, a mind that is calm and ready for deeper contemplation. It comprises 3 factors: right speech, right action, and right livelihood. Right speech, or samavacha, acknowledges the tremendous power of our words. Words can build up or tear down, heal or wound. Right speech means abstaining from 4 kinds of harmful talk. First, to abstain from lying, and instead to speak the truth. Second, to abstain from divisive speech, words that set one person against another, and instead to speak in ways that promote harmony. Third, to abstain from harsh speech, from anger, insults, and abuse, and instead to speak with kindness and gentleness, even when we must say something difficult. And fourth, to abstain from idle chatter, from gossip, and meaningless talk that clutters the mind, and instead to speak words that are purposeful and beneficial. As you lie here, you can gently review the words you used today, not with judgment, but with kind awareness. Where there were words of truth and kindness, feel a quiet joy. Where there were words you regret, simply acknowledge them and renew your intention for right speech tomorrow. This simple act cleanses the heart. Next is right action, or samakamanta. This refers to our bodily actions. It is the intention of harmlessness put into practice. It means abstaining from taking life, from harming any living creature. It means abstaining from taking what is not given, from stealing or dishonest dealing. And it means abstaining from sexual misconduct, from actions that cause harm to others or oneself through sensual desire. In a broader sense, right action is about living with integrity. It is about aligning what we do with what we know to be true and kind. A day lived with right action leads to a night where the conscience is clear. There is no inner turmoil, no need to run from the memory of our deeds. The mind can settle easily, like dust falling on an undisturbed surface. The third factor of ethical conduct is right livelihood, or samma ajiva. This extends our practice of harmlessness into our work, the way we spend the majority of our waking hours. It means earning a living in a way that does not bring harm to others. The Buddha specifically mentioned avoiding livelihoods based on dealing in weapons, in living beings for slaughter, in poisons, or in intoxicants. For us today, it means choosing work that is, as much as possible, ethical and life-affirming. It is a call to reflect on the impact of our work. Does it contribute to the well-being of the world, or does it cause stress, division, and harm? For many, this is a difficult point, as choices can be limited, but the practice here can be one of intention. Even within a difficult job, can we perform our duties with integrity and kindness? And can we hold the intention to gradually move toward work that is more aligned with our deepest values? This reflection brings a sense of agency and purpose, releasing the stress that comes from living in conflict with our own conscience. Finally, we come to the third division of the path, mental discipline, or samadhi. This is the sail of our raft, the engine that propels us forward. It is the training of the mind itself. It includes the last three factors: right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Right effort, or samma vayama, is not a forceful, gritting of the teeth kind of effort. It is a wise, balanced, and joyful perseverance. It is the gentle energy that guides the mind in a wholesome direction. This effort has four aspects. First, the effort to prevent unwholesome negative states of mind, like anger or jealousy, from arising. Second, the effort to abandon these states if they have already arisen. Third, the effort to cultivate wholesome, positive states of mind, like kindness and generosity. And fourth, the effort to maintain and perfect these positive states that are already present. As you lie in bed, you can practice this gently. When a worry arises, you can gently recognize it and let it go without feeding it. This is the effort of abandoning. When you notice the feeling of the soft sheets or the quiet of the room, you can consciously welcome that peaceful feeling. This is the effort of cultivation. It is the simple, repeated act of turning the mind toward peace. Next is right mindfulness, or samasati, which we have already touched upon as the anchor of our practice. It is the heart of mental discipline. It is the capacity to remain present, to be aware of what is happening, as it is happening, without judgment. It is being mindful of the body, of the sensations of breathing, of the feeling of contact with the bed. It is being mindful of feelings as they arise and pass away, whether pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. It is being mindful of the state of the mind itself. Is it calm? Is it agitated? And it is being mindful of the very contents of the mind, the thoughts and images that drift through. Right mindfulness is the sailor who is constantly aware of the raft, the river, and the direction of the wind. Without it, we are lost, adrift on the currents of habitual thought. Before sleep, the practice is simply to be present with the breath, returning to it again and again. This is the ultimate act of returning home to the present moment. The final element of the path is right concentration, or samma samadhi. As mindfulness keeps us present, concentration is the ability to unify the mind, to keep it focused and steady. It is the fruit of the other 7 path factors working in harmony. When the mind is not pulled by regret, not agitated by harmful actions, not scattered by idle thoughts, it has a natural ability to settle. Right concentration is the deep, unwavering calm that arises when the mind can rest on a single object, such as the breath, without distraction. This is not a forced state, but a natural settling. It leads to profound states of peace and clarity. In the context of sleep, we are not striving for deep meditative states, but for the quality of mind that allows for a graceful release. As you follow the breath, as the mind becomes quieter and more settled through your gentle effort and mindfulness, a natural concentration arises. The world of worries fades. The mind becomes still, clear, and bright. It is in this state of peaceful, unified awareness that you can let go completely, surrendering to the healing darkness of sleep. The raft has brought you to a safe harbor for the night. You have walked the path, and it has led you home. As you rest here, know that this path is always available. Each moment is a chance to step onto it, to align your view, your intention, your actions, and your mind with the timeless pursuit of peace. The journey across the river is not made in one great leap, but one gentle step at a time. And now, we have the map, and we have the path. But before we continue our journey tomorrow, it is wise to wash the dust of today from our feet. To walk this path requires us to look at what we bring with us, the footprints of our past actions, our karma. We have walked the great path, the noble eightfold path that leads out of suffering. We have seen its 3 great movements: the wisdom that illuminates our way, the ethical conduct that makes our vessel seaworthy, and the mental discipline that stills the mind and propels us forward. This path is not an abstract philosophy. It is a way of living, a way of walking through the world. And as anyone who walks a path knows, the journey leaves its mark. We gather the dust and mud of the day on our feet. Some of it is fragrant soil from a beautiful meadow, and some of it is the clinging, heavy mud of a swamp. Before we can truly rest, before we can enter the sanctuary of sleep with a light heart, it is wise to pause at the threshold and gently wash the footprints of the day away. This practice of cleansing is the practice of understanding and purifying our karma. The word karma is perhaps one of the most misunderstood concepts from the East. For many, it conjures images of an inescapable fate, a cosmic ledger of good and evil, a system of punishment and reward, meted out by an unseen judge. But the Buddha's teaching on karma, or karma as it is said in the Pali language, is far more intimate, practical, and empowering. Karma simply means action. More specifically, it refers to intentional action. The Buddha said, "It is intention, monks, that I call karma. Having intended, one acts through body, speech, and mind. This is the key. It is the intention, the motivation behind the act that plants the seed. An action performed without intention, like accidentally stepping on an insect you did not see, carries a different weight than intentionally causing harm. The energy behind the action is what matters. Think of it not as a system of cosmic law, but as a simple law of nature, like the law of agriculture. If you plant a mango seed, you will get a mango tree. You will not get a thorny bush. If you plant a seed of nightshade, you will get a poisonous plant, not a nourishing vegetable. The seed contains the potential for the fruit. In the same way, our intentions are seeds. Intentions rooted in generosity, loving kindness, and wisdom are wholesome seeds. When we act upon them, through a kind word, a helpful deed, or a compassionate thought, we plant these seeds in the field of our own consciousness. The fruit they bear, sooner or later, will be pleasant. It will manifest as peace of mind, as joy, as trusting relationships, as a feeling of inner well-being. Conversely, intentions rooted in the three poisons of greed, hatred, and delusion are unwholesome seeds. When we act upon them through selfish grasping, harsh speech, or confused thinking, we plant these toxic seeds in our mind stream. The fruit they bear will inevitably be bitter. It ripens as anxiety, guilt, fear, broken relationships, and a pervasive sense of inner conflict. This fruit doesn't always ripen in some distant future life. The results of our karma are felt here and now, especially in the quiet moments before sleep. When you lie down and the mind is agitated, what is it that agitates it? Often, it is the replay of an unwholesome action from the day. It is the echo of a harsh word you spoke. It is the sting of a dishonest act. It is the heavy feeling of a selfish choice. These are not punishments from an external source. They are the natural, immediate harvest of the seeds we have planted. The mind cannot be at peace because it is wrestling with the consequences of its own actions. A peaceful night's sleep is a direct fruit of a peaceful mind, and a peaceful mind is the fruit of wholesome, ethical living. Understanding this is incredibly empowering. It means we are not victims of fate. We are the farmers of our own experience. Every moment, with every intention, we are choosing which seeds to plant. So, how do we wash the footprints of the day away? How do we purify the mind of the residue of our unskillful actions? The Buddha taught a simple and profound practice of reflection and purification, a form of inner hygiene that we can perform each night before sleeping. It is not about self-blame or wallowing in guilt. It is a clear, kind, and honest accounting with oneself. The practice has 4 simple steps. First, as you lie comfortably, allow the events of the day to drift through your awareness. Don't force memories. Just create a quiet space and see what arises. Watch the day unfold again, like a gentle film, from morning to night. As you watch, pay gentle attention to your actions of body, speech, and mind. Second, is the practice of honest acknowledgement. When you notice a moment where your actions were unskillfuler, a moment of impatience with a loved one, a moment of exaggeration in a story, a thought of judgment toward a colleague's, simply acknowledge it clearly and without drama. There. In that moment, there was anger in my speech. Or, I see that my action there was motivated by a desire to impress others. Or, that train of thought was filled with resentment. You name it. You see it for what it was, an expression of greed, hatred, or confusion. You do this with the dispassionate clarity of a scientist observing a phenomenon, not the harsh judgment of a critic. The third step, and this is crucial, is to arouse sincere remorse, which is very different from guilt. Guilt is a heavy, toxic emotion. Guilt says, I am a bad person. It is a judgment of the self, and it is paralyzing. It often leads to suppression or defensiveness. Remorse, on the other hand, is a wise and healthy response. Remorse says, that action was unskillful. It was a mistake. It caused harm, and I regret that. Remorse focuses on the action, not the identity. It is a feeling of wise sadness that comes from seeing clearly that we have acted out of alignment with our deepest values. It is the natural wish to have done better. This feeling is not heavy. It is clarifying. It is the heart's natural intelligence recognizing a misstep. Feel this wise regret in your heart. It is a sign of your own goodness, your own aspiration to be better. The fourth and final step is to make a gentle, heartfelt resolve for the future. This is the forward-looking, healing part of the practice. Having acknowledged the misstep and felt wise regret, you make a quiet determination. Tomorrow, may I be more mindful in my conversations. Tomorrow, if anger arises, may I have the wisdom to pause before I speak. Tomorrow, may I practice more generosity. This is not a rigid, self-punishing vow. It is a gentle aspiration, a reorienting of the heart. You are planting a new seed, a wholesome seed of wise intention, directly on top of the old, unwholesome one. This process, performed with sincerity and kindness toward yourself, has a profound cleansing effect. It prevents unskillful actions from taking deep root in the subconscious and festering as guilt or anxiety. It lightens the heart, clears the conscience, and allows the mind to settle into a state of peace. You are acknowledging your own fallibility, your own humanity, and reaffirming your commitment to the path of healing. Perhaps you feel that the footprints of your past are too deep, too muddy to be washed away by such a simple practice. Perhaps the weight of past regrets feels overwhelming. To this, the Buddha offered the powerful story of Angulimala. Angulimala was a terrifying figure, a murderer who had killed so many people that he wore a garland made of their finger sheaths. Name literally means finger garland. He was lost in a storm of hatred and delusion, creating unimaginably heavy, negative karma with every action. One day, the Buddha walked calmly and mindfully toward the forest where Angulimala lived. Angulimala saw him and began to run after him, intending to kill him. But a strange thing happened. Though the Buddha was only walking at a normal pace, Angulimala, running as fast as he could not catch up. Exhausted and confused, he shouted, "Stop, monk! Stop!" The Buddha, still walking, replied, "I have stopped, Angulimala. It is you who have not stopped." The Buddha's words struck him like lightning. He realized the Buddha had stopped creating the causes of suffering, while he himself was still running endlessly in the cycle of violence and hatred. In that moment, something broke open in Angulimala. He threw down his weapons, bowed at the Buddha's feet, and asked to become a monk. Despite his horrific past, the Buddha accepted him. Through diligent practice of the Eightfold Path, purifying his mind day by day, Angulimala eventually overcame all his demons and became an arhat, a fully enlightened being. His story is a testament to the supreme power of transformation. It teaches us that our karma is not a fixed destiny. No matter how heavy the burden of the past, the present moment always offers the possibility of change. The present moment is where we stop running. It is where we can choose to plant a new seed. So, as you lie here tonight, know that you are not defined by your mistakes. You are not your anger. You are not your fear. You are not your regret. These are clouds that pass through the sky of your mind. This nightly practice of purification is an act of supreme self-compassion. It is a way of tidying the inner home, of washing the slate clean, of releasing the burdens of the day so that they do not follow you into your dreams. It is an acknowledgement that we are all works in progress, learning to walk this path. With each gentle act of acknowledgement and resolution, you lighten the load on your heart. The mind becomes unburdened, spacious, and clear. And it is this light, clear mind that can finally let go, that can surrender to the deep and restorative peace of sleep. Having cleared the footprints of the past, we have prepared the ground of our being. We are now ready to stand firmly and clearly in the only time that truly exists, the present moment. We are ready to explore the profound power of being fully here, now. We have stood at the threshold of our inner home and gently washed the footprints of the day away. Through the wise practice of reviewing our karma, we have lightened the heart, acknowledged our shared human fallibility, and set a clear, kind intention for the days to come. The mind is no longer heavy with the burdens of the past. The slate is clean. This act of purification prepares the ground, making it fertile. And now, we are ready to plant the most precious seed of all, the seed of presence. We are ready to step fully into the only time that has ever existed, the only place where life ever unfolds. Right here, right now. This is the practice and the power of mindfulness. We have spoken of right mindfulness as one of the essential factors of the Noble Eightfold Path. But now, we must dive into its heart, for it is the sun that illuminates all the other aspects of the path. Mindfulness, or sati, is often defined as paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally. Let us unpack these simple words, for they hold a universe of freedom. On purpose means it is an intentional act. It is a conscious choice to awaken from the dream of our thoughts and return to our life. In the present moment indicates the arena of our practice, not the ghostly realm of yesterday, not the phantom world of tomorrow, but the living, breathing reality of this very second. And non-judgmentally is the quality of heart we bring to our attention. It is a gentle, spacious, allowing awareness, free from the harsh inner critic that so often dominates our experience. It is the kindness that allows things to be exactly as they are. For most of our waking lives, and even as we try to fall asleep, we are not truly here. Our bodies are in the bed, but our minds are elsewhere. We are living in a state of near constant time travel. Our consciousness becomes a ghost, haunting the corridors of the past. We replay conversations, wishing we had said something different. We feel the sting of old wounds, the ache of regret over past mistakes. We cling to memories of happiness, comparing the present moment unfavorably and creating a sense of lack. The past is a landscape of if-onlys and should-haves, a museum of sorrow and longing. Though it is nothing more than a collection of electrical impulses in the brain, we allow it to dictate our present reality, causing us to suffer over things that are no longer happening. Or our mind rockets into the future, a realm of pure fantasy. We become fortune tellers, weaving elaborate stories of what might happen. We are caught in the grip of anxiety, a constant, low-grade fear of 1,000 possible calamities that will likely never occur. We plan, we strategize, we worry, we rehearse. We exhaust ourselves preparing for battles that exist only in our imagination. The future is a world of what-ifs, a breeding ground for fear and insecurity. We sacrifice the peace of the only moment we actually have for the sake of a moment that has not yet been born. This is the great human tragedy, to be physically present in our lives, but mentally absent, lost in the twin prisons of memory and fantasy. Mindfulness is the key that unlocks the cell door. It is the journey of 1 second, the journey from being lost in thought to arriving in the present moment. The gateway to this moment is not through more thinking. We cannot think our way into the present. The gateway is through the body, through the senses. The body is always, unfailingly, in the present moment. It does not live in yesterday or tomorrow. It lives here. To connect with the body is to drop anchor in the harbor of the now. So as you lie here, let us begin this practice. Let us embark on the simple, radical journey of returning to our senses. Shift your attention away from the narrative in your head and bring it into the physical reality of your body. Begin by noticing the simple sensation of weight. Feel the heaviness of your head on the pillow. It is not a thought about your head. It is the direct, physical sensation of pressure and weight. Feel the weight of your shoulders sinking into the mattress. Feel the contact points of your back, your hips, your legs. Can you feel the weight of your heels resting against the bed? You are being held. You are being supported by the bed, by the floor, by the very earth beneath you. Let go into that support. You do not need to hold yourself up. Now, bring your awareness to the sense of touch. Notice the texture of the fabric of the sheets or your clothing against your skin. Is it soft? Is it smooth? Notice the feeling of the blanket resting on top of you. Is it heavy or light? Feel the air in the room on the parts of your skin that are exposed, perhaps your face or your hands. Is it cool? Is it still? You are simply receiving information, without any need to label it as good or bad. It just is. This is the reality of the present moment. It is simple, it is direct, and it is peaceful. There is no anxiety in the feeling of a soft blanket. There is no regret in the sensation of cool air. This practice is a powerful way of pulling the mind out of its chaotic vortex of thought. When the mind is spinning with worry, it is like a whirlwind. Trying to fight the thoughts directly often makes them stronger, but by shifting your attention to the raw data of your senses, you take energy away from the whirlwind. You ground yourself in something solid, something real. The anchor of physical sensation holds you steady in the storm of the mind. Each time you notice your mind has wandered back into a story about the past or the future, and it will, that is its nature, you simply and gently, without any scolding, guide it back. You guide it back to the feeling of your breath, back to the sensation of weight, back to the touch of the air on your skin. Each return is a small victory of presence, an act of loving kindness to yourself. The Zen master, Thich Nhat Hanh, often used the simple act of drinking a cup of tea to illustrate the power of mindfulness. Imagine you are drinking tea. You can do it mindlessly. Your hand brings the cup to your lips, but your mind is 1,000 miles away. You are thinking about the bills you have to pay, rehashing an argument from the morning, planning your tasks for tomorrow. You drink the tea, but you never taste it. You never feel its warmth. The moment of drinking the tea is lost, unlived. This is how we live most of our lives. Now, imagine drinking that same cup of tea with mindfulness. You hold the cup, and you are aware that you are holding it. You feel its warmth in your hands. You bring it closer, and you notice the fragrant steam rising. You see the color of the tea. You take a sip, and your mind is not in the past or the future. Your mind is right there, in your mouth, tasting the complex, subtle flavors. You feel the warmth of the liquid as it goes down. In this moment, there are no problems. There is no anxiety. There is only you and the tea, together in the present moment. The simple act of drinking tea has become a profound practice of peace, a moment of being fully alive. This is the invitation as you lie here tonight. You can treat this time before sleep as a mindless struggle, another problem to be solved, another task to be completed, or you can transform it into a practice of mindfulness. Your object of meditation is not a cup of tea, but the experience of resting itself. Your meditation is to feel the breath entering and leaving your body. Your meditation is to feel the comfort of your bed. Your meditation is to listen to the sounds of the night without judgment. When you do this, you are no longer fighting with the night. You are no longer trying to force sleep to come. You are simply resting in the present moment, creating the perfect conditions of peace and acceptance for sleep to arise naturally, like a gentle wave washing over you. This practice is the foundation. It is the act of cleaning the mirror of the mind, wiping away the dust of memory and the fog of fantasy. It is about arriving home, again and again, to the sanctuary of the here and now, with a mind that is present, calm, and grounded. The mirror is now clear, and with a clear mirror, we can begin to see not just our own reflection, but the very nature of reality itself. This clear seeing, this deep insight into the way things are, is the next stage of our journey. It is the wisdom known as Vipassana. We have arrived at the shore of the present moment. Through the practice of mindfulness, we have dropped our anchor, pulling our awareness out of the ghostly realms of past and future and into the living reality of the here and now. We have learned to rest in the simple, direct experience of our senses. The mirror of the mind, once clouded by the dust of memory and the fog of fantasy, is now clean. The surface of the lake, once agitated by the winds of worry, is now calm and still. This clarity, this stillness, is not the final goal. It is the necessary condition for the next step on our journey. Now that the mirror is clean, we can look into it. Now that the lake is still, we can see to its very depths. This is the practice of Vipassana, a Pali word that means clear seeing or special insight. It is the wisdom that liberates. Vipassana is not about acquiring more knowledge or believing in a new set of ideas. You can read 1,000 books about the nature of reality. You can memorize philosophical concepts, but this remains in the realm of the intellect. It is like reading a travel guide to a beautiful mountain instead of actually climbing it. Vipassana is the climb itself. It is the direct, unmediated experience of truth in your own body and mind. It is the aha moment that arises not from thought, but from observation. Mindfulness, or sati, is the hand that holds the magnifying glass. Concentration, or samadhi, is the focused light that shines through it. And vipassana is the seeing of the intricate, hidden details that are revealed by that focused light. It is the wisdom that sees things not as they appear to be, but as they truly are. So what is it that we are looking for? What is the hidden nature of reality that this practice reveals? The Buddha, through his own deep investigation, discovered that all conditioned phenomena, everything we can possibly experience through our senses and our mindar, characterized by 3 fundamental marks, 3 universal truths. They are known as the 3 marks of existence: impermanence, anicca, unsatisfactoriness or stress, dukkha, and non-self, anatta. The practice of vipassana is nothing more and nothing less than the direct observation of these 3 characteristics in every moment of our experience. Let us begin with the first mark, impermanence, or anicca. This is the most accessible of the 3. Intellectually, we all know that things change, seasons turn, people age, empires fall, but this intellectual knowledge rarely touches us deeply. With vipassana, we move from knowing to seeing. Right now, as you lie here, bring your awareness to your breath. Notice the entire life cycle of a single breath. There is the beginning, as the air first enters your nostrils. There is the middle phase, as the lungs expand. And there is the end, as the air is released and dissolves into silence. And then a new breath is born. Each breath is a story of birth, life, and death. It is utterly impermanent. You cannot hold on to a breath. You cannot breathe in and decide to keep that breath forever. It must be released. See this directly. Feel it. This is the truth of anicca in your own body. Now, expand your awareness. Notice any physical sensation, perhaps an itch, a feeling of warmth in your feet, a subtle ache in your shoulder. Observe it with patient attention. You will see that it is not static. It pulses, it changes, it may grow stronger or weaker, and eventually it will pass away. The same is true of your thoughts. A worry about tomorrow appears in the mind. It feels so solid, so important. But if you simply watch it without feeding it, where does it go? It vanishes, replaced by another thought, another image, another memory. Everything in your experience is like the flow of a river, never the same for 2 consecutive moments. Seeing this, truly seeing it, begins to loosen the knot of clinging in our hearts. Why do we grasp so desperately at pleasure when we can see it is fated to change? Why do we resist pain so fiercely when we can see it too shall pass? This direct seeing of impermanence leads us to an understanding of the second mark, dukkha. We have already spoken of dukkha as the first noble truth, the truth of suffering. Here, in the context of vipassana, it takes on a more subtle meaning. It is not just the gross suffering of pain, loss, or sickness. It is the pervasive, underlying quality of unsatisfactoriness that is inherent in all conditioned experience, precisely because it is impermanent. Think of it this way: trying to find lasting, ultimate happiness in things that are constantly changing is like trying to build a solid house on shifting sand. It is a project doomed to failure, and the effort itself creates a subtle, constant stress. Even a pleasant feeling is marked by dukkha. Observe a moment of comfort as you lie here. It feels good, but notice the subtle layer of anxiety that comes with it, the desire for it to last, the fear that it will end. And when it does end, there is a subtle feeling of disappointment, of loss. This friction, this inherent instability and unreliability of all our experiences is the deeper meaning of dukkha. Vipassana is seeing that no temporary state, no matter how pleasant, can ever provide the ultimate security and peace our hearts truly long for. This seeing is not pessimistic, it is realistic. It turns our search for happiness away from the fleeting and unreliable and towards something more stable and true. This leads us to the third and most profound mark of existence, the truth of non-self, or anatta. This is the insight that cuts the root of our suffering. The doctrine of anatta does not claim that you do not exist. It claims that you do not exist as a separate, solid, continuous, and independent entity. The I that we feel to be sitting in the command center of our minds, the CEO of our experience, is, upon close examination, nowhere to be found. This can be investigated directly. Bring your awareness to your thoughts again. Where do they come from? Did you decide what the very next thought would be before it appeared? Or did it just pop up, uninvited, from the mysterious depths of the mind? If you cannot control the arising of your next thought, can you truly say that these thoughts are me or mine? Now, consider a physical sensation, like a throbbing in your finger. Is you doing the throbbing, or is it just a sensation that is happening? Consider the breath. Is there a little man inside your chest? A breather who is pulling and pushing the air? Or is there simply the process of breathing, happening all by itself? When you look closely at any aspect of your experience, your body, your feelings, your perceptions, your thoughts, your consciousness, you find that they are all impersonal processes, arising and passing away according to causes and conditions. The self, the I, is a concept, a story, a label that the mind constructs and imposes upon this ever-changing flow of phenomena. It is like the word river. The river is a real process, but there is no fixed river entity separate from the flow of water. In the same way, you are a real process, but there is no fixed self separate from the flow of your experience. There is a beautiful parable that illustrates this journey of insight. Imagine your mind as a lake. In its normal, untrained state, the wind of your desires, fears, and habitual thoughts constantly whips the surface of the lake into waves. The water is murky and agitated. If you try to look into the lake, all you can see is a distorted, fragmented, and confusing reflection of your own face. This is the state of being lost in the ego, seeing everything only in relation to me. The practice of mindfulness and concentration is like allowing the wind to die down. The waves slowly subside. The sediment in the water begins to settle. The surface of the lake becomes calm, clear, and still as a sheet of glass. This is a mind stilled by samadhi. Now, with this perfect clarity, you can look into the lake. This is vipassana. You no longer see just a reflection of yourself. You can see right through the surface to the very bottom. You see the fish swimming, the plants swaying, the pebbles lying on the sand. You see the nature of the lake itself. You see the truth of reality as it is, free from the distortions of the ego. You see impermanence. You see unsatisfactoriness, and you see that there is no separate you to be found anywhere. This profound insight is the deepest form of healing. The belief in a solid, separate self is the root of all our fear. We fear annihilation because we believe there is a self to be annihilated. We feel lonely because we believe there is a self that is separate from others. We get our feelings hurt because we believe there is a solid self to be offended. Seeing through this illusion, with the light of vipassana, we begin to relax. We see that we are not a fragile, isolated noun, but a dynamic, interconnected verb. And this is where the mystery of sleep connects to our practice. The state of deep, dreamless sleep is a natural taste of anatta. For those few hours, the story of me with all its history, its problems, its ambitions, and its fierceness completely dissolved. There is no ego. There is only pure being, pure rest. This is why it is so profoundly restorative. The practice of vipassana allows us to consciously touch this liberating emptiness, this freedom from the self, even while we are awake. It helps us to let go, to surrender the burden of being somebody, which is the very thing that so often prevents us from surrendering to sleep. By seeing things as they are, we begin to unburden ourselves from the impossible task of trying to make them as they are not. This deep seeing of non-self is the master key. It gives us the ability to turn our attention to the great illusion itself, and to gently and wisely begin to deconstruct the very idea of I. We have stood at the edge of the still lake of the mind and seen through its clear surface to the truths lying at its bottom. We have witnessed the relentless flow of impermanence, the subtle stress inherent in all fleeting things, and we have glimpsed the most liberating and radical truth of all, non-self, the truth of anatta. This insight born from the quiet observation of our own experience, is the sharpest tool the Buddha gave us. And now, we are going to use this tool to perform the most delicate and freeing operation imaginable. We are going to turn its edge toward the very heart of our suffering, toward the most cherished, most troublesome, most persistent illusion we hold, the illusion of a solid, separate I. From the moment we learn to speak, we are taught to build this structure. I want this. I don't like that. This is mine. You hurt me. My hopes, my fears, my history, my future. The self becomes the main character in the epic drama of our lives. It is the hero we must promote, the victim we must defend, the fragile entity whose reputation we must manage at all costs. This sense of being an isolated I, a little person living somewhere behind our eyes, is the source of our deepest anxieties. It is this I that feels lonely. It is this I that feels inadequate. It is this I that is terrified of old age, sickness, and death, because it believes it is a solid thing that can be diminished and ultimately destroyed. As you lie here in the darkness, it is this very same I that worries it won't be able to sleep, that replays its embarrassments from the day, that frets about the challenges of tomorrow. The self is the ghost that haunts the quiet house of the mind. The Buddha, in his profound wisdom, approached this problem not with a blunt declaration, but with the precision of a surgeon. He invited us not to simply deny the self, but to investigate it, to see for ourselves what it is truly made of. He taught that what we conventionally call a person or a self is, in reality, a dynamic and interdependent process, a confluence of 5 changing streams of energy. These are known as the 5 aggregates, or the 5 skandhas. To understand them is to see through the illusion of solidity. Let us, together, gently investigate these 5 aspects of our own present moment experience. The first aggregate is form, or rupa. This is the body. It is the flesh, the bones, the blood, and the breath. It seems so solid, so fundamentally me. But let us look closer. Is this body truly you, or yours to command? It ages against your will. It becomes sick without your permission. It feels hunger and fatigue on its own schedule. Every cell in this body is made of non-body elements. The food you ate, the water you drank, the air you are breathing right now. It is a temporary collection of elements borrowed from the earth, which will one day be returned to the earth. It is more like a vehicle you inhabit or a house you live in than the true essence of who you are. As you feel your body resting on the bed, can you hold it with this wisdom? Can you see it not as me, but as this precious, temporary manifestation of life? The second aggregate is feeling, or Vedana. This refers to the raw sensations that arise whenever our senses make contact with the world. These are categorized into 3 types: pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. A pleasant feeling arises, perhaps the comfort of your warm bed. An unpleasant feeling arises, perhaps an ache in your back. A neutral feeling arises, perhaps the simple sensation of the air in the room. Now, are these feelings you? The pleasant feeling comes, and the mind immediately says, I like this, I want more. We try to grasp it, to own it, but it is like trying to hold water in your fist. It inevitably slips away. The unpleasant feeling comes, and the mind says, I don't want this. Get it away from me. We resist it, we fight it, but our resistance often just makes it stronger. These feelings are like guests who arrive at your door, unannounced. They stay for a while, and then they leave. You are the host, the house in which they appear, but you are not the guests themselves. The third aggregate is perception, or sanya. This is the faculty of the mind that recognizes, identifies, and labels. Your ears pick up a sound, and perception labels it a distant siren. Your eyes see a pattern of light, and perception labels it the shadow on the wall. This process is happening constantly, creating our mental picture of the world. But is this labeling process you? It is a conditioned function based on your past experiences and memory. It operates almost automatically. It is more like a cognitive software running in the background than a conscious self choosing to recognize things. To see perception as an impersonal process is to free yourself from being a prisoner of your own labels and judgments. The fourth aggregate is the most complex, mental formations, or sankhara. This includes a vast range of mental activities. It is all of our thoughts, our moods, our opinions, our biases, our habits, our intentions, our desires, and our aversions. This is the active, restless part of the mind that is constantly reacting, planning, and commenting. This is where the story of me is most actively written. But are these mental formations truly you? We have already seen that thoughts arise without our bidding. We have habits we wish we could break. We experience moods that seem to come from nowhere and sweep us away. These mental formations are like currents and eddies in a great river, conditioned by countless previous causes. They are not the solid, coherent will of a central self. They are impersonal mental weather patterns, passing through the sky of awareness. Finally, the fifth aggregate is consciousness, or vijnana. This is the fundamental quality of knowing, the raw awareness that arises when a sense organ connects with its object. There is eye consciousness, which simply knows the presence of a color or shape. There is ear consciousness, which knows the presence of a sound. There is mind consciousness, which knows the presence of a thought or feeling. But is this awareness a permanent, independent you? The Buddha pointed out that consciousness is always dependent. It arises because of conditions. Eye consciousness depends on a functioning eye and a visible object. It cannot exist on its own. It is not a monolithic consciousness that resides within us, but a series of discrete moments of knowing that are constantly arising and ceasing. It is more like the light that appears when a circuit is completed than a permanent light bulb that is always on. There is a famous dialogue in the Buddhist texts between the sage Nagasena and King Milinda that beautifully illustrates this point. Nagasena arrives to meet the king, and the king asks his name. After he gives it, Nagasena adds that Nagasena is just a designation, a name for a collection of parts, and that no permanent person can be found. The king, a sharp debater, is intrigued. He asks, if there is no person, then who is it that wears these robes and takes this food? He then points to Nagasena's chariot and asks, what is this? Nagasena says it is a chariot. The king then begins the deconstruction. Venerable sir, is the pole the chariot? No, your majesty, Nagasena replies. Are the wheels the chariot? Is the frame the chariot? Are the reins the chariot? To each question, Nagasena answers, no. Then, the king declares triumphantly, are all these parts together? The chariot? No, your majesty. Then, is there something outside of these parts that is the chariot? No, your majesty. The king is perplexed. Then, sir, you are speaking a falsehood. There is no chariot. Nagasena calmly replies that chariot is simply the convenient name, the designation one gives to the combination of the pole, the axle, the wheels, and the frame. It is a convention. It has no ultimate, independent existence. In exactly the same way, he explains, Nagasena is the conventional name for the temporary collection of the 5 aggregates. This is the liberating insight of anatta. I is a convention. It is a story we tell ourselves. By investigating the 5 aggregates, we see that there is no solid entity behind the process. There is no thinker behind the thought, no feeler behind the feeling. There is only thinking. There is only feeling. This is not frightening. It is the ultimate relief. As you lie here, you can let go of the exhausting, lifelong project of defending and promoting this imaginary self. Feel the body breathe, knowing it is an impersonal, natural process. Watch a worry arise, and know that it is just a mental formation, a cloud passing by, not your worry. When you stop identifying with these changing processes, you can finally rest. The burden of being me is gently laid down. The fear of death loses its sting, because what was there to die in the first place but a temporary collection of processes? The ego's pride and insecurity begin to dissolve, because they have no solid ground on which to stand. When we deconstruct the self, we are not left with a cold, empty void. That is the ego's fear. What we are left with is an open, boundless space. The walls of the prison cell of the separate self have dissolved, and what we discover, to our great surprise, is that this space is not empty at all. It is filled with connection. By dissolving the illusion of our separateness, we open the door to realizing our profound and unbreakable connection with everything else. Having taken apart the machinery of the self, we find ourselves in a place of profound silence. The chattering, anxious voice of the I has faded, and we are left not with a terrifying void, but with a vast, open space. For a lifetime, we have believed ourselves to be a single, isolated brick, solid and separate. But through our investigation, we have discovered that the brick is an illusion. We have dissolved it, and in its place, we discover that we are, and have always been, a part of the entire cathedral of existence. The emptiness of a separate self reveals the fullness of our connection to everything. This is the shift from seeing ourselves as a noun to experiencing ourselves as a verb. This verb, this dynamic and interconnected reality, was described by the great Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh with a beautiful word, interbeing. Interbeing is the positive expression of the truth of non-self. It simply means that to be is to interbe. Nothing in this cosmos can exist by itself. Everything relies on everything else for its existence. This is not a philosophical statement. It is a scientific and spiritual reality that we can witness for ourselves if we only look deeply. It is the understanding that the walls we perceive between ourselves and the world are illusory, porous, and ultimately non-existent. Let us practice this deep looking together, right now, with a very simple object. Imagine in your mind's eye a single sheet of paper. It seems simple, separate, but what is it, really? If we look at it with the eyes of interbeing, we can see a cloud floating in it. Without a cloud, there can be no rain. Without rain, the trees cannot grow. And without trees, we cannot make paper. So the cloud is an essential part of the paper. If we were to send the cloud back to the sky, the sheet of paper could no longer exist. Now look again, and you can see the sunshine. The sunshine is crucial for the tree's photosynthesis, the miracle that transforms light into life. Without the sun, the tree cannot grow. So the sunshine is also in the paper. If you send the sunshine back to the sun, the paper vanishes. And if we look even more deeply, we see the logger who cut down the tree. We see their hands, their muscles, their breath. We see the bread they ate for breakfast that gave them the strength to work. And in that bread, we see the wheat, the field, the farmer, and the rain and sun that nourished the wheat. All of these things are present in this single sheet of paper. We see the logger's parents and their parents stretching back through time. We see the person who drove the truck, the people who worked in the paper mill. We see the mind of the person who invented the process of papermaking. If you were to return any one of these elements to its source, the sheet of paper would be impossible. The paper is full of what we call non-paper elements. It is full of the entire cosmos. It is, because everything else is. It inter-is with all of reality. Now, let us turn this gentle, penetrating gaze upon ourselves. What we call our self is no different from that sheet of paper. As you lie here, feel the warmth in your body. That warmth is the energy of the sun, passed down through the food you have eaten. You are full of sunshine. Feel the substance of your body. Over 60% of it is water, the same water that was once in a cloud, in a river, in the great ocean. You are full of the clouds and the rain. Think of the food that nourishes you, the plants, the animals, the minerals from the earth. They have become your flesh and bone. You are the earth. Consider the air you are breathing in this very moment. This breath connects you intimately with the trees and the phytoplankton of the sea that produce the oxygen. You are breathing in the world, and the world is breathing you in. And what of your mind? Your thoughts, your ideas. They are filled with your parents, your teachers, your friends, the authors of books you have read, the singers of songs you have heard. Every joy, every sorrow, every piece of wisdom you hold is a gift from countless beings. Your very existence, right here, right now, resting on this bed, is a testament to the interbeing of all things. The feeling of being a separate, lonely individual is a profound misunderstanding. It is an illusion created by not looking deeply enough. We are not isolated islands. We are waves in the single, vast ocean of life, distinct yet inseparable from the whole. This realization is the direct antidote to the deep existential loneliness that plagues our modern world. We feel cut off, alienated, as if we are struggling through life on our own. But how can we be lonely when the entire universe is conspiring to create our existence in this very second? How can we be separate when our breath marries us to the atmosphere and our food weds us to the earth? The insight of interbeing melts the frozen walls of alienation and allows us to feel our profound sense of belonging to the web of life. It is a homecoming to the family of all things. There is a magnificent and dazzling metaphor from the ancient Avatamsaka Sutra that expresses this truth, known as Indra's net. Imagine a vast cosmic net that stretches out infinitely in all directions. At every single point where the threads of the net cross, there hangs a single, perfectly clear and multifaceted jewel. The net is structured in such a way that if you look closely at the polished surface of any one jewel, you will see reflected in it all the other jewels in the entire infinite net. And not only that, but each of the reflections in that single jewel also reflects all the other jewels, and so on, in an endless, holographic cascade of inter-reflection. Each of us, each being, each atom is one of those jewels. We are distinct, and yet we contain and reflect the whole. The light in one jewel illuminates all others. A tremor in one part of the net is felt throughout. My joy is not just my joy, it is reflected in you. Your suffering is not just your suffering, it ripples out and touches me. This is the vision of interbeing. There is no hierarchy. There is no true inside or outside. There is only a luminous, interconnected, and sacred whole. As you prepare for sleep, you can practice this deep looking. This is not an intellectual exercise. It is a felt sense of connection. Feel the bed beneath you. Realize your interbeing with it. Think of the cotton plant, the tree that became the wood, the minerals that became the metal springs, the designers and factory workers who brought it into being. Your rest is supported by a universe of causes and conditions. Feel a quiet thank you for this support. Feel the shelter of the room around you. You are with the people who built it, with the materials drawn from the earth. You are held and protected. Expand your awareness to the planet itself, this great, beautiful sphere spinning silently in the vastness of space, holding you to its surface with the invisible embrace of gravity. You are a child of this planet. Your body is made of it, and your life is sustained by it. Feel your connection to this great earth. And finally, return to your breath. With every inhalation, feel yourself receiving the gift of life from the cosmos. With every exhalation, feel yourself offering your presence back to the cosmos. This simple, rhythmic exchange is the very pulse of interbeing. When you see yourself in this way, the anxious, isolated self begins to relax its grip. You are not a solitary soldier fighting a lonely battle. You are a cherished note in a grand symphony, a unique jewel reflecting and being reflected by all of existence. The world is not something outside of you that you must struggle against. The world is inside you, and you are inside the world. This profound realization, this felt sense of intimate connection with all that is, naturally gives rise to one of the most beautiful and healing emotions the human heart can experience. When we know we are supported by everything, the heart naturally opens in thanks. The awareness of interbeing is the fertile ground from which springs the flower of gratitude. From the boundless perspective of interbeing, we see a universe that is not cold and separate, but is a single, breathing organism of which we are an inseparable part. We see that our very existence is a gift woven from the threads of the sun, the earth, the clouds, and the efforts of countless other beings. When the heart truly takes in this reality, when it feels its profound dependence on and communion with all of life, a response arises as naturally as a flower turning toward the sun. That response is gratitude. Gratitude is the heart's song of recognition for the miracle of its own existence. It is the spontaneous overflow of a mind that has shifted from seeing what is missing to seeing what is given. Yet, for many of us, this state of gratitude feels fleeting, a rare visitor that arrives only on special occasions. Our default state of mind is often one of discontent. We live in a culture of constant striving, always looking toward the next achievement, the next purchase, the next experience that we believe will finally make us happy. Our mind has been exquisitely trained to scan the horizon for problems, dangers, and deficiencies. This is a deep-seated evolutionary habit known as the negativity bias. For our ancient ancestors, survival depended on being hyper-aware of threats: the predator in the grass, the scarcity of food. The mind became like Velcro for negative experiences, sticking to them tenaciously, and like Teflon for positive experiences, letting them slide right off. This mechanism was useful for survival, but in our modern world, where physical survival is less of a moment-to-moment concern, this same mechanism creates a chronic background hum of anxiety, dissatisfaction, and complaint. We can have a day filled with 99 small joys and one minor frustration, and at the end of the day, what does the mind cling to? The frustration. Gratitude, then, is not a passive emotion we must wait for. It is an active practice, a conscious training of the mind to counteract this negativity bias. It is a form of mental hygiene, as important as brushing our teeth. It is the intentional act of turning our attention, again and again, to the goodness, the beauty, and the simple gifts that are present in our lives, even amidst difficulties. It is a rewiring of the brain, away from the well-worn pathways of lack and toward the open, sunlit fields of abundance. And this practice is one of the most powerful and direct ways to prepare the heart for peaceful sleep. The practice itself is beautifully simple. As you lie here tonight, let go of the complex problems of the day and turn your mind toward the simple act of counting your blessings. The instruction is to bring to mind at least 3 things from your day for which you are genuinely grateful. The key is to focus on the small, the ordinary, the things so easily taken for granted. Did you have a meal that nourished you today? Take a moment to be grateful for that food, for the earth that grew it, and for the hands that prepared it. Did someone speak a kind word to you, or offer a simple smile? Let the warmth of that small connection fill you with thanks. Were you able to walk, to see, to hear? Be grateful for the simple, miraculous functioning of your body. Perhaps you are grateful for the taste of clean water, for the feeling of the sun on your skin, for the existence of music that can touch your soul. Perhaps you are grateful for a moment of quiet, for a good conversation with a friend, for the comfort of this very bed. Do not just make a mental list. Try to feel the gratitude in your body. For each thing you call to mind, allow the feeling of appreciation to arise in your heart. Let it be a warmth that spreads through your chest, a softening around your eyes, a gentle smile on your lips. In this moment of feeling gratitude, it is impossible to also feel anxious or resentful. You are changing the emotional channel of your mind, tuning it from the frequency of fear and lack to the frequency of peace and fullness. We can deepen this practice by expanding our gratitude to include not just the pleasant things, but also the challenges. This may sound strange. Why would we be grateful for our difficulties? We are not grateful for the pain itself. We are grateful for the lessons the pain teaches us. We are grateful for the strength we discover in ourselves when we navigate hardship. A difficult person in your life can be a powerful teacher of patience and compassion. A failure can be a profound teacher of humility. A period of loneliness can be a teacher of self-reliance. An illness can be a teacher of the preciousness of health. When we can look back at our struggles and say, "Thank you for the lesson. Thank you for making me stronger. Thank you for making me more compassionate," we transform our relationship with our own life story. We are no longer victims of our past. We are alchemists who can turn the lead of suffering into the gold of wisdom. There is a timeless story of a beggar who sat by the roadside every day with nothing to his name but a simple clay bowl. Each day, people would drop a few coins or a piece of bread into his bowl, and each evening, he would eat what he had been given. One day, a wealthy merchant, who was perpetually worried about his business and his possessions, saw the beggar and felt a mix of pity and disdain. "You poor man," the merchant said, "you have nothing." The beggar smiled gently and held up his bowl. "Sir," he said, "you are mistaken. I have this bowl. Every day, it receives whatever I need. It is my connection to the kindness of strangers. It is the source of my nourishment. It never fails me. How could I say, I have nothing? I have this wonderful bowl, and for that, I am the richest man in the world." The merchant was stunned into silence. He, with all his storehouses of grain and bags of gold, had never felt such a profound sense of wealth and security. He was always worried about what he might lose, while the beggar was filled with joy for the one thing he had. This is the power of gratitude. It reveals that wealth is not a matter of accumulation, but of appreciation. A mind that is focused on what it lacks is a mind that lives in poverty, no matter how much it possesses. A mind that is filled with gratitude for what it has is a mind that lives in abundance, even if it possesses very little. Gratitude is the great antidote to the poison of consumerism and materialism that tells us we are always one purchase away from happiness. Gratitude tells us that happiness is already here, waiting to be noticed in the simple gifts of our ordinary lives. So, as you rest here, let this feeling of gratitude be the final meditation of your day. Let it be a gentle, cleansing rain that washes away the dust of discontent, leaving your mind clear and your heart soft. Let thankfulness for the simple gift of your breath be the lullaby that sings you to sleep. A heart that is filled with thanks has no room for the anxieties of the night. It is a heart that is at peace, a heart that trusts in the goodness of life. This feeling of fullness and trust makes the heart resilient. It gives it a quiet strength, a courage born not of aggression, but of softness and appreciation. And, with a heart made brave by gratitude, we find we have the capacity to turn and face even our most difficult and persistent emotions, to open a dialogue with the shadows we have spent our whole lives running from, beginning with the great shadow of fear itself. With a heart made spacious and resilient by gratitude, we find ourselves possessing a quiet courage. Gratitude fills our inner reserves, so we no longer feel empty or deficient. From this place of fullness, we can begin to turn and face the shadows we have spent a lifetime avoiding. And for so many of us, the deepest, most persistent shadow is fear. Fear is the ghost in the machine of the mind, the cold hand that clutches the heart in the dead of night. It is the architect of our anxieties, the author of our worst-case scenarios, and our relationship with it is often what defines the quality of our inner peace. The spiritual path is not a journey to a place where fear no longer exists. It is a journey to a place where we are no longer afraid of fear itself. Fear, in its essence, is a natural and intelligent survival mechanism. It is the alarm bell of the nervous system, designed to protect us from genuine danger. If a car is speeding toward you, the jolt of fear that makes you leap to safety is a gift. The problem is not this acute, protective fear. The problem is chronic, psychological fear, the free-floating anxiety, the persistent worry, the dread of the future that has become the constant background noise of our lives. This kind of fear is a fire that has escaped its hearth. Instead of warming us, it begins to burn the house down. It erodes our joy, poisons our sleep, and keeps us locked in a prison of imagined futures. Our usual response to this unwanted guest is one of two extremes. The first is aversion. We try to push fear away. We distract ourselves with entertainment, numb ourselves with food or drink, or simply pretend it isn't there. We armor ourselves, trying to create a life where nothing can ever trigger it. But this strategy is exhausting. It is like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. It takes constant energy, and the moment we relax our guard, the fear erupts to the surface with even greater force. The second response is identification. We become completely fused with the fear. We believe every single catastrophic story it tells us. We become the fear. Our entire world shrinks to the size of its terrifying narrative. This is like pouring gasoline on the fire, feeding the very monster we wish would leave us alone. The Buddha taught a middle way in our relationship with fear. It is a path that avoids the extremes of suppression and identification. It is the path of meeting fear with mindful, courageous, and compassionate attention. It is the path of turning toward the fear, not to fight it, but to listen to it. It is the path of transforming our relationship with fear from one of adversarial combat to one of a wise and gentle dialogue. This practice begins the moment you notice fear's arrival. As you lie in bed, perhaps a worry about finances, health, or a relationship begins to stir. The familiar cold knot forms in your stomach. The heart begins to beat a little faster. The first step is simply to acknowledge its presence, gently and without panic. Instead of thinking, "Oh no, here it comes, I can't handle this," you can say to yourself, with a quality of calm recognition, "Ah, fear is here. I feel the presence of fear in me." This simple act of naming creates a space. You are no longer lost in the fear. You are the one who is aware of the fear. You have already shifted from being a victim to being a witness. The second step is to bring your attention out of the story in your head and into the sensations in your body. The narrative of fear is endless and hypnotic. Instead of getting tangled in the what-ifs, drop your awareness into your physical being. Where does this fear live in your body? Scan yourself with gentle curiosity. Is it a tightness in your chest? A hollow feeling in your solar plexus? A constriction in your throat? A tremor in your hands? Be specific. Investigate the raw physical data of the emotion. Fear, when it is just a physical sensation, is far less intimidating than fear when it is a terrifying story. Grounding your awareness in the body brings you immediately back to the present moment, where you are safe. The third step is to breathe with the sensations. This is a profound act of kindness. Our instinct is to tense up around an unpleasant feeling, to wall it off. Instead, you can consciously breathe into that area of tightness. As you breathe in, imagine you are sending your warm, oxygenated breath directly to the knot of fear in your stomach. As you breathe out, imagine the knot softening, just a little, creating more space around it. You are not trying to force it to disappear. You are simply holding it in a cradle of kind, spacious awareness. You are offering it compassion. You are treating it not as an enemy to be vanquished, but as a wounded part of yourself that needs comfort. Now, from this place of grounded, compassionate awareness, the dialogue can begin. You can gently ask the fear some questions. You can personify it, speaking to it internally as if it were a misguided friend. You might say, "Hello, fear. I see you. I know you are here." Then, you can ask with genuine curiosity, "What are you trying to protect me from?" Fear is always trying to protect us from something, from loss, from failure, from rejection, from death. By asking this question, you reframe its purpose. It is not a monster trying to destroy you. It is a misguided guard dog, barking at shadows. Listen for the answer. Usually, beneath the roaring surface, the message is simple. "I'm afraid you'll run out of money. I'm afraid you'll be alone. I'm afraid you'll get sick." Once you have heard its message, you can respond with kindness and reassurance. Thank you for trying to keep me safe. I hear your concern." This acknowledges its intention and has a disarming effect. Then, you can offer a gentle dose of reality. "I hear that you are afraid I will fail at my presentation tomorrow. I appreciate you wanting me to be prepared. But right now, in this moment, I am lying safely in my bed. My body is breathing. I am okay. We can deal with tomorrow when it arrives." You are becoming a wise and compassionate parent to the frightened child within you. You are not dismissing the fear, but you are not letting it drive the car. The supreme example of this practice is the story of the Buddha's enlightenment under the Bodhi tree. As he sat in deep meditation, the demon king Mara, the lord of illusion and fear, unleashed his entire army to stop him. Mara sent armies of horrific demons, representing lust, anger, doubt, and all the forms of fear imaginable. They shot poisoned arrows and threw flaming mountains at the meditating Siddhartha. But as he sat, unmoving, He did not fight back. He did not run away. He simply remained present, meeting every single attack with peaceful, unshakable awareness. And a miracle occurred. As the arrows and mountains flew toward him, they transformed in mid-air and fell at his feet as a shower of fragrant flower petals. Mara, seeing that his power was based entirely on his victim's reaction, that his terrors were powerless against one who would not be provoked, finally fled in defeat. This story is our story. Our inner demons, our fears, our anxieties, our insecurities gain their power from our resistance and our identification. They thrive on our reaction. When we can learn to sit like the Buddha, to meet our fear with calm, non-judgmental awareness, to simply say, "I see you," without being swept away, its arrows also turn to flowers. The fear may not vanish instantly, but it loses its power to control us. It becomes just another passing cloud in the vast open sky of our awareness. We realize that we are the sky, not the cloud. This is the ultimate freedom. This practice of holding our fear with spacious compassion is a skill we can cultivate night after night. Each time we do it, we are building our capacity for inner peace. We are learning that we are bigger than our fear. With a heart that has been softened by gratitude and made courageous by this mindful dialogue, we find we can hold not just fear, but all of the changing experiences of life with a new kind of grace. This profound ability to remain balanced and peaceful amidst the inevitable ups and downs of existence, amidst pleasure and pain, praise and blame, gain and losses, a specific quality of mind cultivated on the Buddhist path. It is the sublime and unshakable peace of equanimity. With a heart made brave through its compassionate dialogue with fear, we arrive at a new vantage point. We have learned that it is possible to sit with a powerful, unpleasant emotion without being consumed by it. We can hold it in a spacious awareness, like a dark cloud held in the vastness of the sky. Now, we can expand this skill, for it is not only our sorrows that can disturb our peace. Our joys, too, can throw us off balance, creating excitement, craving, and the fear of their eventual departure. The spiritual path leads to a place of profound inner stability, a peace that is not dependent on whether our circumstances are pleasant or unpleasant. This unshakable balance of the heart is known as equanimity, or upekkha. Upekkha is the crown jewel of the four sublime states of mind, which also include loving kindness, compassion, and sympathetic joy. It is the quality that holds and balances all the others, and it is perhaps the most easily misunderstood. Equanimity is not indifference. It is not a cold, detached apathy or a stoic suppression of feeling. Indifference is born from fear and ignorance. It is a shutting down of the heart. Equanimity is born from wisdom and courage. It is the full opening of a heart so vast and stable that it is not shaken by the winds of change. It is not about feeling less. It is about feeling everything with a deep and unwavering peace. Our lives are constantly buffeted by what the Buddha called the 8 worldly winds. They are gain and loss, praise and blame, pleasure and pain, and fame and disrepute. These winds are always blowing. One day, we receive a promotion, at work a gust of gain and praise. The next day, we make a mistake and are criticized, a gust of loss and blame. One moment, we feel the pleasure of good health. The next, we feel the pain of a headache. A mind without equanimity is like a small, fragile leaf, tossed about helplessly by these winds, its peace entirely dependent on which way the wind is blowing. A mind cultivated in equanimity is like a great, ancient mountain. Imagine this mountain. It sits in majestic stillness, The sun shines upon it, warming its slopes, and the mountain simply receives the warmth. It does not cling to the sun and cry out when evening comes. Fierce storms gather, lashing it with wind and rain, and the mountain simply sits, allowing the storm to pass over it. It is not diminished or defeated by the rain. Snow falls, blanketing it in a silent white, and the mountain wears the snow with grace. Through all the changing seasons, through all the shifting weather of the days and nights, the mountain remains fundamentally itself, grounded, solid, present, and profoundly still. Equanimity is the cultivation of this mountain-like quality within our own mind. The events of our lives are the weather. Equanimity allows us to experience the full spectrum of life's weather without being uprooted, without losing our center. This profound stability is born from the deep, experiential understanding of impermanence. We have seen in our own practice that all experiences are like clouds passing in the sky. Feelings of joy arise, they shimmer for a time, and they pass away. Feelings of sorrow arise, they cast their shadow for a time, and they too pass away. Praise is just a collection of sounds that vanishes as soon as it is spoken. Blame is the same. When we know, not just intellectually, but in our very bones, that everything is transient, we naturally stop clinging so tightly. We stop investing our ultimate hope of happiness in things that are, by their very nature, unstable and fleeting. The practice of equanimity is a subtle art of observation, especially as you lie here reviewing the day. When a memory of a success or a happy moment arises, notice the feeling of joy. Feel it fully, but also notice the mind's tendency to grasp at it, to want to replay it, to build a story around it. The practice is to gently let go of the clinging while still appreciating the joy. You can say to yourself, "This is a pleasant feeling. It is beautiful. It is also impermanent." You enjoy the warmth of the sun without trying to stop the earth from turning. Likewise, when a memory of a failure, a painful conversation, or a moment of sadness arises, notice the feeling of sorrow or frustration. Feel it fully, without suppression. But also, notice the mind's tendency to resist it, to push it away, to spin a story of victimhood around it. The practice is to gently let go of the resistance, allowing the feeling to be what it is. You can say to yourself, "This is an unpleasant feeling. It is difficult. It is also impermanent." You allow the rain to fall on you without cursing the sky. By not adding the second arrow of clinging or resistance, you allow the experience to arise, to be felt, and to pass away naturally. You remain the mountain, allowing the weather of your life to simply be. Perhaps the most profound application of equanimity is in our relationships. It allows us to love more freely and more deeply. Often, what we call love is deeply entangled with attachment, which is the source of so much pain. We love someone, and so we become anxious about their well-being. We fear losing them. We feel jealousy or possessiveness. This is not the fault of love. It is the work of an ego that is trying to secure its own happiness through another person. Equanimity allows us to disentangle love from attachment. It is the ability to love with an open hand rather than a grasping fist. We can care deeply for another person. We can wish them every happiness. We can support them in their suffering. But our own inner peace does not rise and fall with their every mood or action. We love them, but we recognize that their life is their own journey. We offer our support, but we release the burden of trying to control their experience. This is a wise, spacious, and sustainable love. A love that brings peace, both to ourselves and to those we care for. It is the love of the sun, which shines its warmth on all without demanding anything in return. As you settle into a state of rest, you can hold your entire life in this embrace of equanimity. Think of your successes and your failures, your joys and your sorrows, your strengths and your weaknesses. Can you hold them all with an even, balanced heart? Can you see them all as part of the rich, complex, and beautiful weather pattern of your unique life? You are not just one part of the weather. You are the vast, silent, and stable mountain that witnesses it all. This state of profound balance is the firmest foundation for inner peace. It is the quality that allows us to face the great uncertainties of life and of the night with grace and courage. When the mind is no longer being tossed about by the winds of hope and fear, it naturally becomes quiet. It settles. The constant internal chatter begins to fade because we are no longer fueling it with our reactivity. And in this growing stillness, we begin to notice something new. We have spent so much time listening to the noise of our thoughts. Now, with the mind calm and balanced, we can begin to listen to the silence that was always there, behind the noise. We can begin to appreciate the profound, healing power of the space between the thoughts, the stillness that is the true nature of our mind. With a mind that has found its footing on the firm ground of equanimity, a new landscape begins to reveal itself. The storms of reactivity have passed. The winds of praise and blame have subsided. The inner world grows quiet. For the first time, we may begin to notice the profound and healing power of silence. In our modern world, true silence is a radical act. We have become a culture that is deeply afraid of it. We fill every spare moment with noise, with podcasts, with music, with the endless scroll of information, with the chatter of our own minds. Silence feels uncomfortable, empty, a void to be filled at all costs. We fear that if we were to be truly quiet, we would have to face something we have been running from. And in this, we are correct. But what we have been running from is not a monster. It is our own deepest and most peaceful nature. We have come to associate silence with absence, the absence of sound, the absence of activity, the absence of life. But in the great contemplative traditions, silence is understood not as an absence, but as a presence. It is not an empty void. It is a vibrant, living fullness. Silence is the canvas upon which the picture of our life is painted. It is the vast, quiet sky that holds the clouds of our thoughts, the storms of our emotions, and the brilliant light of our awareness. Without the silence of the canvas, there could be no painting. Without the stillness of the sky, there could be no weather. Silence is the ground of all being, the womb of all creation. It is the original state of the mind, the place we return to for true rest and restoration. To learn to listen to the silence is to embark on a journey home. This is a practice you can begin right now, as you lie here in the stillness of your room. It is a form of listening that moves in stages, from the gross to the subtle. First, simply open your awareness to the world of sound, without any judgment or labeling. Just listen. Perhaps you can hear the faint hum of an appliance, the creak of the house settling, a distant car passing on the street. Perhaps you can hear the sound of your own breathing, the gentle rhythm of air entering and leaving your body. Do not name these sounds. Do not call them good or bad, pleasant or annoying. Simply receive them as pure vibration, as raw sensory data. Let your ears be like two great satellite dishes, gathering the soundscape of this present moment. Now, begin to shift your attention. Instead of focusing on the sounds themselves, become interested in the silence that holds them. Notice the space between the sounds. A car passes, and then there is a moment of quiet before the next sound arises. Listen to that quiet. Notice the silence that is underneath the hum of the refrigerator, the silence that the sound is happening in. This silence is always here, a vast, unbroken field of stillness that underlies the entire world of noise. Sounds are like islands, but the silence is the great ocean in which they appear. By turning your attention to the ocean rather than the islands, your mind begins to quiet down and expand. Next, bring the practice even further inward. Bring your full attention to the rhythm of your own breath. Follow one full breath from its beginning to its end. Feel the inhalation, and then feel the exhalation. At the end of the exhalation, there is a natural pause before the next inhalation begins. For just a second or two, everything stops. There is no effort, no movement. There is only stillness. Can you notice this pause? Can you rest in it? This gap between the breaths is a secret doorway into deep peace. It is a moment of pure silence that you experience thousands of times every day, but have likely never noticed. As you settle into rest, you can begin to cherish this pause. Let it be a moment of complete letting go, a tiny vacation from all doing, a return to the silent ground of your being. From here, we can approach the most subtle level of listening. We can begin to listen to the silence between our thoughts. Just as sounds arise in a field of external silence, thoughts arise in the field of our inner silence. Watch your mind. A thought appears, a memory, a plan, a worry. Let it be there, like a cloud passing in the sky. Do not follow it. Do not fight it. Simply observe it. And then, notice that it dissolves. And in the moment, after it has dissolved, before the next thought cloud has formed, there is a gap, a tiny sliver of clear blue sky. This is the silence of the mind itself. At first, this gap may seem infinitesimally small, but as you practice, as you become more interested in the sky than in the clouds, the gaps begin to widen. You discover that your true nature is not the endless chatter of your thoughts, but the silent, spacious awareness in which that chatter occurs. There is a classic Zen story that speaks to this truth. A sincere student approaches a great master who is renowned for his deep wisdom. The student bows and asks the ultimate question, "Master, what is the fundamental nature of reality?" Or, "What is the truth of Zen?" The student expects a long, complicated, philosophical answer. Instead, the master says nothing at all. He simply picks up his cup, takes a slow, mindful sip of tea, and looks out at the garden. The student is bewildered, thinking he has been ignored or dismissed. But the master's senior disciples, watching from the side, nod in understanding. The master's silence was the answer. Ultimate truth cannot be spoken. It cannot be contained in words or concepts, which are products of the thinking mind. It can only be pointed to, and it is found in the silent, aware presence that lies beyond all thought. His silent, present moment action was a direct transmission of the truth itself. The silence that we cultivate is not a dead, empty, or lonely place. It is the source of all creativity, all intuition, all true healing. It is in the silence that the scattered fragments of our psyche can reintegrate. It is in the silence that we hear the quiet whispers of our own deepest wisdom. It is in the silence that the body's innate intelligence can perform its restorative work, which is why quiet is so essential for deep sleep. By consciously choosing to listen to the silence, you are inviting your entire being to come home to its natural state of rest. You are allowing the agitated waters of the mind to become still, so that they can once again reflect the clarity of the sky. As you lie here, let go of the need to think, to figure things out, to solve the problems of your life. Give yourself permission to simply be silent. Rest in the quiet presence that is always here, beneath the surface noise. This inner silence, this vast, open, and undefined spaciousness of the mind, is more than just a peaceful state. It is a doorway to the most profound and liberating teaching of Mahayana Buddhism. It is the direct experience of a reality that is not made of solid, separate things, but is a boundless, interconnected field of pure potential. This reality is known by the Sanskrit name Shunyata. It is the great emptiness, which is, paradoxically, the source of all fullness. We have journeyed inward through the layers of our experience. We have stilled the mind with equanimity, and in that stillness, we have learned to listen to the profound, healing silence that lies at our core. This silence, we have discovered, is not a dead void, but a living, vibrant space. It is the womb of all possibility. To rest in this silence is to stand at the doorway of one of the most liberating and subtle teachings of the human spirit. It is to approach the great mystery that the Mahayana Buddhist tradition calls Shunyata, or emptiness. The word emptiness can be frightening. In our Western languages, it suggests a lack, a nothingness, a cold and desolate void. It is crucial to understand from the very beginning that when Buddhism speaks of emptiness, it does not mean non-existence. It is not a nihilistic declaration that nothing matters. In fact, it is the very opposite. Shunyata is a key that unlocks the deepest understanding of reality, revealing a world that is far more dynamic, interconnected, and miraculous than we can possibly imagine. It means emptiness of one specific thing, a separate, independent, and permanent self, or essence. We have already laid the groundwork for this understanding. When we looked deeply at a sheet of paper, we saw that it was empty of being only a sheet of paper. It was full of the sun, the cloud, the logger, the entire cosmos. It existed only in relation to everything else. This is the truth of Shunyata. All things, without exception, are empty of existing from their own side, isolated and independent. A flower is empty of a separate flowerness. It is a temporary manifestation of sunlight, water, soil, and seed. Your body is empty of a separate me-ness. It is a temporary manifestation of food, air, water, and the DNA of your ancestors. A thought is empty of a separate thought-ness. It is a temporary manifestation of causes and conditions, a ripple in the mind stream. Nothing stands alone. Everything co-arises in a vast, seamless web of interdependence. This is the ultimate expression of the truths of non-self and interbeing. The great scripture that most powerfully expresses this is the Heart Sutra. In its famous lines, it declares, "Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. Form is not other than emptiness. Emptiness is not other than form." Let us gently unpack this profound statement. Form is emptiness. This means that any form we can perceive, whether it's the form of our body, a chair, a mountain, or even the form of a thought or an emotion, when we investigate it deeply, we find that it has no solid, core essence. We cannot find any part of it that is a permanent, independent thing. It dissolves under our analytic gaze into a collection of interdependent, ever-changing parts and processes. The form is empty of a separate self. But the next line is just as important. Emptiness is form. This protects us from falling into the trap of thinking that emptiness is some kind of blank nothingness that exists apart from the world. Emptiness is the very nature of form itself. It is precisely because things are empty of a fixed, unchanging essence that they can grow, change, interact, and manifest. It is because a seed is empty of being a permanent, static seed that it has the potential to become a mighty tree. It is because a person is empty of having a fixed personality that they have the potential for growth, learning, and transformation. Emptiness is not a void. It is pure, boundless potentiality. It is the dynamic, creative energy of the universe. Form and emptiness are two sides of the same coin. They are an inseparable dance. This profound truth applies not only to the world outside, but to the nature of our own mind. Your mind, in its essential nature, is also empty. And again, this is the most wonderful news imaginable. The mind's nature is often compared to a perfect mirror. A mirror is, in a sense, empty. It has no color, no image of its own. Because of this inherent emptiness and clarity, it has the capacity to reflect everything. You can hold a beautiful red flower before the mirror, and the mirror will reflect the red flower perfectly. You can hold up a frightening mask, and the mirror will reflect the mask. You can hold up a picture of a clear blue sky, and the mirror will reflect the sky. The reflections come and go. They appear vividly in the mirror, but they do not alter the mirror in any way. The reflection of the frightening mask does not scratch the mirror. The reflection of the red flower does not stain it. After every reflection has passed, the mirror's fundamental nature remains what it always was: clear, open, and ready to reflect whatever comes next. Our true mind, our basic awareness, is like this mirror. Thoughts, emotions, and sensations are the reflections. A joyful thought may appear, like the red flower. A painful memory may appear, like the frightening mask. A moment of peace may appear, like the blue sky. We get into trouble when we forget that we are the mirror and mistake ourselves for the reflections. We identify with our thoughts and emotions, believing, "I am angry," or "I am sad." We believe that these temporary mental states are our true identity, but the wisdom of emptiness reminds us that we are the clear, open, mirror-like awareness in which these states appear. Our fundamental nature is untouched, unstained, and undamaged by the content of our experience. To realize this is to find an unshakable inner refuge, a peace that is not dependent on the reflections being pleasant. As you lie here, preparing for the great letting go of sleep, you can practice resting in this true nature of your mind. Let go of the need to identify with any thought, feeling, or story. Let go of all the labels you have given yourself: your name, your roles, your history. Let these be like reflections that have come and gone. Allow your mind to return to its primordial state, its natural condition, before it was filled with the clutter of the day. Imagine your mind is a vast, clear, cloudless night sky. It is dark, silent, and infinitely spacious. Occasionally, a star may twinkle into existence, a stray thought, a faint sensation. Notice it, but do not fixate on it. Remain as the vast sky that effortlessly holds the star. The star does not define the sky. The sky is the boundless potential that allows the star to shine. There is nothing to do in this practice. There is only a letting be, a profound relaxation of all conceptual boundaries. It is a surrender into the boundless, silent, and intelligent space of your own awareness. This is the ultimate freedom taught in the path of the Buddha. It is freedom from all fixed views, all rigid identities, all limiting concepts about ourselves and the world. It is the realization that our true nature is not small, fragile, and separate, but as vast, open and free as the sky itself. When we touch this reality, the anxious striving of the ego subsides. There is nothing to defend, nothing to prove. We can finally relax. We can finally come home with a mind that recognizes its own pure, spacious, and untroubled nature. We are now perfectly prepared for the final and most natural act of the day. We are ready to surrender with complete trust and grace into the restorative mystery of sleep. We have traveled far tonight, on a journey not across miles, but through the inner landscapes of the mind. We began in the noisy marketplace of our thoughts and worries, a place of ceaseless activity. We sat by the banks of that rushing river and learned to simply watch, without being swept away. We found our anchor in the gentle, reliable rhythm of the breath, a constant friend in the present moment. From that place of stillness, we looked deeply into the nature of life itself. We saw the truth of impermanence, that all things arise and pass away, teaching us to hold our lives with a lighter grip. We saw the truth of non-self, deconstructing the illusion of a separate, solid I, and freeing ourselves from the burden of its defense. We discovered the profound reality of interbeing, realizing we are not isolated islands but waves in a single, interconnected ocean of existence. We filled our hearts with gratitude, the antidote to discontent, and learned to meet our deepest fears with courageous compassion. We have cultivated the mountain-like stability of equanimity and rested in the vast, silent, and empty nature of our own awareness. We have arrived. We have walked the path from agitation to peace, from confusion to clarity. And now, there is only one step left to take. It is not a step of effort, but a step of release. It is the final, graceful act of surrender. This is not a surrender of defeat, but a surrender of profound trust. For this is the secret of sleep. It cannot be conquered. It can only be received. It is an act of faith. As you lie here, on the threshold of sleep, you are asked to make two acts of faith. The first is faith in the world. The part of you that resists sleep is the part that believes it must stay on guard, that it must manage, control, and supervise reality. It is the ego, believing that without its constant, anxious vigilance, the world will fall apart. The first act of surrender is to gently release this burden. It is the quiet recognition that the world can, in fact, go on for a few hours. Without your conscious participation, the stars will continue on their paths. The earth will continue its silent spin. The great rhythm of life will continue its pulse. You can let go of the reins. You can trust the world to be the world and allow yourself this sacred time of rest. The second act of faith is faith in your own body. All day long, we live in our heads, trying to direct the magnificent, intelligent organism that is our physical form. But now, it is time to trust its innate wisdom. You do not need to consciously tell your heart to beat, your cells to repair themselves, or your lungs to breathe. The profound intelligence of life itself is coursing through you, and it knows exactly what to do to heal and restore you. Your only task is to get out of its way. To surrender your body to this deep, biological wisdom is to allow the most profound healing to occur. And so, we begin this final process of letting go. We will take a slow journey through the body, giving every part of it explicit permission to release, to soften, and to surrender its holding. Bring your awareness all the way down to the tips of your toes. Feel them now. These toes that have helped you balance and move all day. Offer them your gratitude and give them permission to completely relax. Let all tension dissolve. Allow this wave of softness to move into the soles of your feet, the arches, the heels. Your feet have carried you through the day. Their work is done. Let them become heavy, warm, and utterly at ease. Let this gentle wave of relaxation flow up into your ankles, your shins, and your calf muscles. Release any tightness you may be holding here. Let your lower legs become limp and heavy. Allow the softening to move into your knees and then into your powerful thigh muscles. These muscles work so hard for you. Let them go completely. Feel your legs, from your hips to your toes, as pillars of profound relaxation, sinking gently into the mattress beneath you. Bring your awareness now to your hips, your pelvis, and your lower back. This is an area where we hold so much tension. As you breathe in, bring your awareness to this region. As you breathe out, imagine all the knots of tension unraveling, all the tightness melting away like ice in the warm sun. Let go. Surrender the holding. Feel a deep sense of release in your entire pelvic girdle. Now, allow the wave of relaxation to flow up your spine, vertebra by vertebra. Feel it spreading across your lower back, your middle back, and across your shoulder blades. Let your entire back melt into the support of the bed. Let your abdominal muscles soften and release. Let go of the tension in your chest. With every breath you take, feel this entire core of your body sinking deeper and deeper into a state of peace. Bring your awareness to your hands. Notice your fingers, your palms, the back of your hands. They have been grasping, typing, holding, and doing all day. Now is the time for them to be still. Let your fingers curl naturally. Let your hands become soft and open. Feel this relaxation flow up through your wrists, your forearms, and into your upper arms. Let your shoulders, which so often carry the weight of the world, release that burden now. Let them drop, soften, and be at ease. Finally, bring your awareness to your neck and your head. Release the muscles in your neck. Let go of any tension in your jaw. Allow your tongue to rest gently in your mouth. Soften the tiny muscles around your eyes. Let your eyelids rest like soft curtains. Smooth out the space between your eyebrows. Let go of any tension in your forehead and your scalp. Your entire head has become serene and peaceful. Your whole body, from the tips of your toes to the crown of your head, is now in a state of deep, profound rest. In this stillness, let us offer a final, gentle intention for the night. You can repeat these words silently in your heart. I now release the day that has passed. I release all that has been, all that was said and done. I offer this body and this mind to the great, healing mystery of sleep. May my rest be deep and peaceful. May my mind be purified and my body be restored. And may all beings everywhere, without exception, find safe harbor and peaceful rest this night. The work is now done. There is nothing left for you to do. Do not try to sleep. To try is an act of effort. An effort is the opposite of sleep. Your only task is to rest. Rest in this state of calm, open awareness you have cultivated. Think of a single seed planted in the dark, rich soil. The seed does not struggle. It does not strive to become a flower. It does not worry about whether there will be enough rain or sun. It simply rests. It surrenders to the darkness, to the quiet, and to the nurturing power of the earth. It trusts the process, and in that trusting surrender, life naturally begins to unfold through it. You are that seed now. Your bed is the dark, rich earth. Let go of all striving. Trust the process. Rest in this quiet darkness, and let sleep come to you, not as something you must achieve, but as a gentle friend who takes your hand, or as a soft blanket that is drawn over you, or as a silent, peaceful wave, washing you out into the deep, healing ocean of the night. We have traveled far tonight, on a journey not across miles, but through the inner landscapes of the mind. We began in the noisy marketplace of our thoughts and worries, a place of ceaseless activity. We sat by the banks of that rushing river and learned to simply watch without being swept away. We found our anchor in the gentle, reliable rhythm of the breath, a constant friend in the present moment. From that place of stillness, we looked deeply into the nature of life itself. We saw the truth of impermanence, that all things arise and pass away, teaching us to hold our lives with a lighter grip. We saw the truth of non-self, deconstructing the illusion of a separate, solid I, and freeing ourselves from the burden of its defense. We discovered the profound reality of interbeing, realizing we are not isolated islands, but waves in a single, interconnected ocean of existence. We filled our hearts with gratitude, the antidote to discontent, and learned to meet our deepest fears with courageous compassion. We have cultivated the mountain-like stability of equanimity and rested in the vast, silent, and empty nature of our own awareness. We have arrived. We have walked the path from agitation to peace, from confusion to clarity. And now, there is only one step left to take. It is not a step of effort, but a step of release. It is the final, graceful act of surrender. This is not a surrender of defeat, but a surrender of profound trust. For this is the secret of sleep. It cannot be conquered. It can only be received. It is an act of faith. As you lie here, on the threshold of sleep, you are asked to make two acts of faith. The first is faith in the world. The part of you that resists sleep is the part that believes it must stay on guard, that it must manage, control, and supervise reality. It is the ego, believing that without its constant, anxious vigilance, the world will fall apart. The first act of surrender is to gently release this burden. It is the quiet recognition that the world can, in fact, go on for a few hours without your conscious participation. The stars will continue on their paths. The earth will continue its silent spin. The great rhythm of life will continue its pulse. You can let go of the reins. You can trust the world to be the world and allow yourself this sacred time of rest. The second act of faith is faith in your own body. All day long, we live in our heads, trying to direct the magnificent, intelligent organism that is our physical form. But now, it is time to trust its innate wisdom. You do not need to consciously tell your heart to beat, your cells to repair themselves, or your lungs to breathe. The profound intelligence of life itself is coursing through you, and it knows exactly what to do to heal and restore you. Your only task is to get out of its way. To surrender your body to this deep, biological wisdom is to allow the most profound healing to occur. And so, we begin this final process of letting go. We will take a slow journey through the body, giving every part of it explicit permission to release, to soften, and to surrender its holding. Bring your awareness all the way down to the tips of your toes. Feel them now, these toes that have helped you balance and move all day. Offer them your gratitude and give them permission to completely relax. Let all tension dissolve. Allow this wave of softness to move into the soles of your feet, the arches, the heels. Your feet have carried you through the day. Their work is done. Let them become heavy, warm, and utterly at ease. Let this gentle wave of relaxation flow up into your ankles, your shins, and your calf muscles. Release any tightness you may be holding here. Let your lower legs become limp and heavy. Allow the softening to move into your knees and then into your powerful thigh muscles. These muscles work so hard for you. Let them go completely. Feel your legs, from your hips to your toes, as pillars of profound relaxation, sinking gently into the mattress beneath you. Bring your awareness now to your hips, your pelvis, and your lower back. This is an area where we hold so much tension. As you breathe in, bring your awareness to this region. As you breathe out, imagine all the knots of tension unraveling, all the tightness melting away like ice in the warm sun. Let go. Surrender the holding. Feel a deep sense of release in your entire pelvic girdle. Now, allow the wave of relaxation to flow up your spine, vertebra by vertebra. Feel it spreading across your lower back, your middle back, and across your shoulder blades. Let your entire back melt into the support of the bed. Let your abdominal muscles soften and release. Let go of the tension in your chest. With every breath you take, feel this entire core of your body sinking deeper and deeper into a state of peace. Bring your awareness to your hands. Notice your fingers, your palms, the back of your hands. They have been grasping, typing, holding, and doing all day. Now is the time for them to be still. Let your fingers curl naturally. Let your hands become soft and open. Feel this relaxation flow up through your wrists, your forearms, and into your upper arms. Let your shoulders, which so often carry the weight of the world, release that burden now. Let them drop, soften, and be at ease. Finally, bring your awareness to your neck and your head. Release the muscles in your neck. Let go of any tension in your jaw. Allow your tongue to rest gently in your mouth. Soften the tiny muscles around your eyes. Let your eyelids rest like soft curtains. Smooth out the space between your eyebrows. Let go of any tension in your forehead and your scalp. Your entire head has become serene and peaceful. Your whole body, from the tips of your toes to the crown of your head, is now in a state of deep, profound rest. In this stillness, let us offer a final, gentle intention for the night. You can repeat these words silently in your heart. I now release the day that has passed. I release all that has been, all that was said and done. I offer this body and this mind to the great, healing mystery of sleep. May my rest be deep and peaceful. May my mind be purified and my body be restored. And may all beings everywhere, without exception, find safe harbor and peaceful rest this night. The work is now done. There is nothing left for you to do. Do not try to sleep. To try is an act of effort, and effort is the opposite of sleep. Your only task is to rest. Rest in this state of calm, open awareness you have cultivated. Think of a single seed planted in the dark, rich soil. The seed does not struggle. It does not strive to become a flower. It does not worry about whether there will be enough rain or sun. It simply rests. It surrenders to the darkness, to the quiet, and to the nurturing power of the earth. It trusts the process. And in that trusting surrender, life naturally begins to unfold through it. You are that seed now. Your bed is the dark, rich earth. Let go of all striving. Trust the process. Rest in this quiet darkness and let sleep come to you, not as something you must achieve, but as a gentle friend who takes your hand, or as a soft blanket that is drawn over you, or as a silent, peaceful wave, washing you out into the deep, healing ocean of the night.